I think we're live, guys. Welcome to Hot Pot Podcast. I'm joined by Dr. James Martin, all the way from Leeds, about 10 minutes down,
Sunny
10 minutes down
Leeds.
the road from me. It's Friday Night Live, guys, 8 p.m. every single week, as of last week. So yeah, this is episode number 2 of Friday Night Live, and we're talking all about James Martin's amazing new Facebook group, Investing for Dentists, and how it came about, how he got into the investing scene, where he hopes to go, and I'm sure we'll also end up off topic as we always do. Mate, how are you?
I'm absolutely smashing, mate. Thank you so much for having me. This is a bit of a whirlwind to me. I've done my first podcast last week. Now this is my first live stream, and I'm absolutely loving it. It's great. I didn't expect the first thing when I started this group. I thought it was going to be me and about maybe 20 of my pals who felt sorry for me. You know how it is when you start a group and your friends join out of sympathy. I don't know, but here we
Oh,
are.
so,
It's
so he
awesome.
stops.
I
So he
love it.
stopped sending you the invite. Oh, I've clicked it now. I don't have to hear
Oh
about
yeah,
it.
when people don't want to join, so you have to invite
Yeah.
them and insist that they do. Yeah. Those were the early days, but thankfully, other people actually found it interesting too, which is cool. I think it came along at the right time.
Everyone sat around
Yeah,
at home thinking, God, what if we can never work again? I've got like a bit of cash
yeah,
sat in
man.
the bank. I need to make it work for myself, and
Well,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think as well as that, just because of the way the markets have been post-corona, they just went whoosh. And because they've been maybe a little bit more in the news than normal, maybe us dentists and just everybody, generally speaking, have been indoctrinated towards thinking along those lines subversively.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole host of reasons. I should mention the name of the group so people know what we're
It's
talking
linked down
about.
below already, by the way. So
Oh,
if
smashing.
the guys
Yeah,
haven't already joined, James's Facebook group
ahead of the curve.
is down in the links below. I was working ahead of schedule today, so I managed to do all these little bits and pieces. You'll also
I
notice,
see, ahead
guys,
of the curve.
down on this side it says not financial advice, just in case we talk a bit of nonsense.
Yes, yeah. I would lose sleep if anybody thought that. I saw two guys on YouTube. They said we should buy crypto and they went all in or something like that. So, yeah, just anything we say, it's very much opinion.
Yeah.
And yeah, very much do your own research. We're definitely not financial advisors or anything of that nature. I hate putting disclaimers in, but so I just thought I'd say that at the
No,
very start. I'm just
I
very
probably
careful.
need a disclaimer just stamped across my forehead. Anything he says is possibly
Oh,
BS.
all the time, even better, mate. That would save me so much trouble. I swear. But yeah, if anybody's interested in the group, they know where to find
Yeah.
it. I made it for dentists. I suppose it kind of started out for dentists. Um, I suppose I didn't really actually think at the time that really a lot of the stuff on there would just generally appeal to lots of people. But yeah, if it sounds like your thing, feel free. It's for anybody who's interested in finance and investing. I've had a bit of a long-standing interest in it for quite a few years.
Yeah.
I've got into it. I've read a fair bit, but I've read even more over lockdown. So yeah, there's a lot of knowledge. I mean, I'm not by any means a complete, an expert or a financial advisor. There's a lot of other guys on there who know a lot of things, and I definitely think that wherever you fall, beginner, newbie, somebody who's been doing it for a long time, that it might be useful. So yeah, if you feel like it, feel free. It's
I
there.
was ecstatic to see Tony Kilcoyne on there. I was like, yes, Tony, get in there. Um,
Oh, who's Tony?
he's one
Who's
of
Tony? Is
he's
he
one of the guys that is involved in the DFT scheme in Yorkshire. Uh,
Oh,
so I was like,
okay.
Tony's right on it there from Bradford scheme. Um,
Ah, a bit of a minor celeb. Okay, I've seen his name. It rings a bell, but I didn't know that. But yeah,
I'm actually
cool.
thinking he needs to come on the podcast because he's got opinions on everything, and that kind of is exactly what we're after. Um,
So to give everybody a little bit of context, Jabir told me to watch Alex Jones and what's that
Joe
guy's
Rogan.
name? What's that? Joe Rogan and Alex Jones. And I'd never really heard of Joe Rogan before. And I watched this episode, and Alex Jones just talks so much nonsense, and Joe Rogan just makes fun of him the whole time. And I was like, oh, okay, I see here what this is going to be. I see what this is going to be. I'm Alex Jones, and Jabir is
Well,
Joe
who
Rogan. I
knows
get
which
it.
way
I get
round
it.
it is? Neither of us are bald, so
Okay, fair
we're
enough.
a
Yeah.
little way off. So the guys who are just joining, I've seen Dr. Awua. Hey man, how are you doing? Yeah, you're not late. You're right on time. To the guys who are watching, make sure to hit that subscribe and like button. And also, this week we want to know what food you're having for dinner because it's Friday Night Live. The blue gloves are off, and we're going to obviously talk some of the finance, and we also want to hear what everyone else has been up to this week. So we want a bit of a round discussion. Get your comments in, any thoughts you have, and we'll come to those as well. So make sure you've got the chat open, and we'll have a discussion between not just me and James, but with you guys as well.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'd love to hear. I would love to have some participation. That would be cool.
Should we dive right in with the
Yeah,
group?
let's do
Where
it.
did the group start from, and where the idea came from? When do you think actually there's a need for this group as opposed to just going ahead and doing it yourself, or whatever?
Do you know what? So really, if we go way back, I think the seeds for the genesis of this were planted in my head when I first heard about Bitcoin. And before, so way back when, this was like 2017, when it all went parabolic, it went crazy, it was in the news for a little while, and a younger, sort of more naive, kind of greedier version of myself thought to myself, how can I get some of the action? Okay, how can I get in on this? And before that, if someone talked to me about stocks, shares, all that things of that nature, no one could kick it into me that I could care. No one could shake it
Yeah,
into me. My eyes would just glaze over. I just didn't care. I just thought it was something boring that maybe older people do, which that wasn't correct. That wasn't the correct connotation that I had, but that was my connotation. And I think that movement was something that inspired me. So I saw this on the news. I saw Bitcoin. Wow, this looks amazing. This is went to $20,000. How can I get some of the action? How can I get in on this? But I knew enough to know at that point that it was in a bubble, like a financial
yeah,
bubble.
because it
And
was just
what
flying
bubbles
up. It went to what, $20,000 or something, and then just
Yeah,
shot it back down.
$20,000 on the 17th of
Mm,
December, 17th of December, and then it retested it on the 6th of January. But from what I knew at the time, I thought, okay, this is in a bubble. I'm going to be smart. I'm going to wait till the bubble
yeah,
pops. All right. But the problem was I had no idea of how long the recovery takes afterwards. So I was like, nah, few days, few weeks, we'll be right back up there. Yeah, it'll like bounce back down, it'll correct itself. And that's when I'm going to make my entry and I'm going to get rich, untold fortunes. But which was my completely. I'm glad I had the sense not to buy at the top. I mean, I think that was something, I
yeah.
suppose.
Because people get that wrong, don't they? They go, "Oh, it's flying up. It's never going to be this short low again," and then
Yeah,
you end up what do they call it? You're holding a bag.
a bag
Yeah,
holder. Yeah, yeah. I've actually had quite a few people come to me from the group and said that they're a bit. Well, that was when they got into Bitcoin as well. But really, if you're following it long term, the best points to buy are when it's kind of not really in the news. There's a saying on Wall Street: when your taxi driver starts talking about a stock or share, it's probably time to sell your
yeah,
stock and share. Okay, because there's only so much money that can go into something, and when it reaches that very peak, then it'll fall. The price of something will just fall under its own gravity. And that's effectively what happened to Bitcoin. It's no coincidence that it happened when it was $20,000 as well. Because a lot of these things, a lot of the points when people sell, they're just human psychology. So someone can go down to the pub and say, "Oh, I sold my Bitcoin for $20,000." It's like a roundness to it. You know what I mean? They can gloat.
yeah.
Whereas $17,999 has not got the same ring to it. So this is why in trading, and quite often in stocks and whatever, trading and investing, that you'll find lines of support and resistance, if anybody knows what they are. So the price will interact with round numbers because people will sell and the price will tend to go downwards or upwards based on that. So it's quite interesting. It's a manifestation of psychology
Yeah,
on the
it,
charts.
it is it is
Yeah,
mental
I don't know if
because
anybody finds that
if you get
interesting.
to like you break a support or resistance line, it's like to do with Fibonacci, isn't it? That there's numbers that get involved. I did yeah, it's
Yeah.
all
So I
mathematics, all
mean,
patterns, all um this works because we say it works because everyone else says it works, so it works. It's not like an actual
kind
thing.
of, yeah. Kind of like support and resistance is just psychology. So that's just where people want to sell, people want to buy, whatever. That's just where everybody agrees. When it hits support, It's where longs want to get long and shorts want to buy back in. That's all it is. And as soon as it breaks, when it breaks, it's only when everybody agrees, or generally there's a consensus amongst other people that it's over and that doesn't exist anymore. That's the only reason. And when support turns into resistance and it flips around, that's because there's people who are still in the market who have been burnt and want to get out at that level because they want to buy or sell at the same level as they bought in. But anyway, we're getting a bit technical.
Yeah, I was just thinking we've gone right down the rabbit hole, and the guys are going, "What are they on about?"
How long? 15 minutes in. That didn't take long. Let's go. Let's reel it right back.
Let's just say, okay, you're a dentist, so let's pretend we are a graduated dentist. Now we'll go through maybe a couple of scenarios. You've taken on your first 5,000 UDAs, blah blah blah. So you've got a little chunk of money at the end of each month now. What kind of planning would you say is sensible for someone in that particular position? You know, just in terms of very general money management.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, you're quite right. So there's always going to be a certain figure of money that you will have that's superfluous to what you need. So you always want to keep some of that in cash, all right, just for a rainy day. Now, as to how much you leave in cash, that's up to you. Some people say 20-30% is a good number. So you'll have 20-30% of your savings in cash. You'll maybe have 70% that you want to set aside to invest. It depends on your circumstances as well. Have you got a house? Do you want to get a house? Are you renting? You know, maybe if you're someone who's very young, you might just say, actually, I just want to save up as hard as I can and get a house, first of all, because then at that point, you'll have a mortgage and you'll be able to contribute instead of paying rent, which is just money into a black hole, you're at least contributing something towards a house. So you might say at that stage that I just want to go full on cash. Yeah. The trouble is, if you let's say you want to get a house maybe 2-3 years down the line, really for lots, unless you want to get heavily into trading and you really know what you're doing, for long-term investing, that's not enough money to guarantee that you'll make a profit. That will only happen. You can never, number one, you can never guarantee, but it's very likely to happen over a longer period of time.
Yeah.
So it depends very much on someone's circumstances. Yeah, you might just say that you want to focus on getting a house first of all, which is fair enough. But let's say you've got a house. Let's say you've got a stable life. You've got a wife. You've got 2 kids. You know how much is coming out. All right. You know your outgoings every month. They are predefined, and you've got a good idea of what they're going to be. Maybe you might say, okay, here's 100% of the money that I have that's spare, money that I don't need. I'll keep 20-30% of that in cash for a rainy day.
Broken boiler, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Or even if you want to, when the market's really low, if you want to buy back in, I don't know. You've got spare liquidity is the term. But yeah, you're quite right. But yes, also just for, if it's things that you need about the house, you need a new car, your car breaks down, something like that. I don't know. And then you've got that 70%. And of that, for me, I think it's about tailoring that 70% to decide how much of it what is your risk appetite? So how much do you want to put into riskier things? How much do you want to put into more defensive things? How much do you know about trading? There's a whole kind of host of things going on there. But that 70%, when we talk about that is very much depends on the individual.
And then this again is the money that's spare. It's not your whole pay packet.
Yes, I should make that really clear. This is all your money. This is the money you need to live on. This is your spare money. This is the money we're talking about. Yeah, definitely not all of your money.
Unless you're very, very risky and want to do a little case study for us. Again, this is not financial advice, but if someone wants to try that, let us know how it goes, and I'll happily have you on the podcast.
For the record, I did not
ask you to do that either. It's just if you are a risky person and you decided on your own merit to do something ridiculous. I like to hear about ridiculous things.
Just let us know. You might get rich. I don't know. You might get rich. But yeah, of that, I mean,
you probably won't, but yeah.
Oh, you probably won't. That would be nice though. What was I going to say? But of the money that you invest, the 20% in cash, the 70% that you're thinking about buying, 20-30% in cash, the 70%, 80% that you're thinking of putting in other assets. I would not put a terrible amount of that in crypto because it is still very much at its
Yeah.
infancy. I've actually written an ebook recently, if anybody's interested. It's about investing long term in crypto as opposed to trading. The problem with crypto is because it's very much at its infancy, no one quite knows where it's going to go. I think in likelihood it's going to be big for reasons that are detailed in the book. I think that it's going to be big and spend if you can get 5% in that and that goes really big, then that's made it worth your while automatically. But it's by no means a sure thing. There are safer things to put the majority of your money in, like index funds and bonds and gold, more conventional investments.
Yeah. And
But
with
yeah,
investment, do we talk about things beyond kind of, just stocks and just on a very, very basic level? You've maybe got time and you've got money, and you can either
mm-hmm.
invest your time, which would be a job, you could be investing your money, or you can be investing other people's time, and then if you're very clever, other people's money. Would that be a nice place to start as a very base level almost? Because that's essentially what, if we think about buying a practice, is other people's time.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, there's probably the way I started was I just read books on investing. But I did things the wrong way around because I started off trading because I tried to trade crypto and it just didn't end well at all. And really, I wish I would have started to think I would have learned about investing first because you got to walk before you
Yeah.
can run. So just in case anybody, quite a lot of people, they don't really draw the distinction between those two terms. But investing is somebody who pretty much just buys something and then holds it. So they buy and forget effectively. And there's lots of things that you can buy that historically, for lots of reasons, they've went up incrementally year on year. And if you average those years out, they've almost always went up in value. And that's to do with a lot of things. It's to do with how money is created. Money is devalued all the time. So if your money is devalued, these things go up. And that's always been historically
Yeah.
true. But again, we'll not go too far down the rabbit hole. But something that applies to is the S&P 500. So that's 500 large companies in America. It's an index fund, which is a collation of shares. They're all thrown together. You can buy the whole thing at once. And if you look at the history, it's went up. I think it's 9, 8, 9, 10%, something like along those lines, ever since it was created in 1957. So that's yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 1957, and it's between 8 and 10%. It varies.
Which is much better than you would get in a bank account, for example.
Oh, much better. Well, you might argue that you actually lose quite a lot of money in your bank account because inflation is generally a lot higher than they report it.
So yeah, explain that, because you spoke a little about this on Jazz's podcast, which, by the way, guys,
Yeah.
if you want something which is much more structured and to the point and less rambly, then Jazz Galati's podcast is much more to more to your taste. Because we're gonna be all over the place. We're a little bit chaotic, but it's a bit of fun.
I like that. That's true. Just said what everyone was thinking.
Yeah, he's just like, this guy. I come on for dentistry, and he's been talking about Formula One. What's this?
Oh man, giving you a hard time.
No, I'm sure the people that enjoyed that kind of thing will be back again and again. But
yeah, exactly. Well, you can eventually.
You can see, guys. Let me show you. Is that in?
It's not quite. You might
okay,
have
it
to.
might be too bright.
Yeah.
It might be too bright. But it's if you guys Google S&P 500 performance, you can go to the max from all the way back. It was at, let's see, 126, and they're now at like 4,000. So if you'd been incrementally putting your money in, month on month in there, you're doing pretty well on that particular thing.
But that's we should just say as well that that's just one way, just one example, and it's definitely not proof that it'll consistently do that going forwards. But I think it's helpful from the point of view that it at least gets your mind thinking that there's more ways that your money can work for you. And this is the significance. This is the basis of how people invest. I read a really interesting book. It's called The Ivy Portfolio. So it's about how Harvard invests so that they can pay their debts in future. They literally do this. This is how they manage their debts. or this is how they manage their spare money. They put it into these sorts of indexes. But by all means, it's worth looking into. I'm hoping at the very least tonight that people can kind of see why it might be something sensible to think about.
Yeah.
And there is a very, very, very strong case for having a DIY pension, because there are a lot of things that you can do as an individual with your money that put you at a significant advantage to anybody else who's managing your money. So it's just worth thinking about. And I swear, honestly, I didn't care about it. I was when you start reading about it, the more you read about how money's handled, money's created, and how you're effectively robbed of your money every year by inflation if you leave it
I
in the
thought you were
bank.
saying tax for a
I
second.
just tax is another one. Tax is another thief as well. But yeah, it's really worth looking into. It really is. And if I can be kicked into action, I'm sure there's a lot more people out there who can also be. I challenge anybody to learn about it and not feel an impetus to do something.
Yeah.
Basically, and it's interest. I found it interesting.
Well, no, it is your future that you're learning about almost in a way, isn't it? Because no one wants to be working 9 to 5, hard, nose to the ground, whatever, all the time. You want to have a bit of time to enjoy your life as
Mm,
well. So if you can get on top of these kind of things early doors, then you get time to be a boring old man and go play golf if that's what you want to do. Or
do you know? Do you know what? I'm gonna say something that a lot of people are gonna be probably a bit appalled at me that I did. I actually cancelled my NHS pension when I was in FD. I cancelled it because I thought I can't be having this £300 coming out every month. I was
yeah,
indignant, and I it was complete. It's not. I'm not advocating it by any means. You know what I mean? But that's just to give you a little bit of insight as to my mindset prior to learning about this. So I was the absolute antithesis of someone who was just an idiot, basically. And yeah, if I can change, there's hope for anyone. I swear, honestly.
yeah.
I hope
The
that
NHS pension is a very
helps.
weird one, though, isn't it? Because there's all these weird calculations that go into how it works. I'm no longer paying into mine, to be honest. I'll disclaim
Mm,
that as well. Mainly because I've left my job, which we'll get into at some point as well. And I don't want to go back to NHS work. So it's one of those things. If you can manage your own, you've got a lot of flexibility. You can't withdraw from a state-based pension until you've actually retired at 65 or whatever.
that's what got me. That's what got me. I just thought I'm putting all this money. It's in a black hole. You know, I could be dead by then. Yeah. I mean, I say that flippantly, but it's possible. And if you can, I just think for me, having access to this money is a huge thing, rather than putting it in a black hole where in a some distant future you'll be able to get it back. And I think as well the stipulations are something like you get a lump sum, or they pay you in these very small increments, so you don't actually have control of
No.
it. Now, I'm not the most informed on it. Maybe you know more than me, Javier, but that's just something that didn't sit well with me effectively.
It didn't feel right to me that the way that it would get paid out, and it was to do with how much you earn and then you get to a certain level or something. Honestly, I'm not an expert on the NHS pension. I just spoke to people who were more in the know than me, and they said we got a good deal. You guys are not. So I was thinking,
Right.
well, I
So it's
yeah,
changed then.
it's
So I
changing
didn't
every
even
year.
know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. I'm not hugely informed on it. I just think that maybe I have a gripe with pensions in general because of how they make my money inaccessible.
Mm.
But by no means does that make it the correct opinion.
No, there's more than
That's
one way
just
to skin
my
this cat, and I
opinion.
think that's something that we're going to keep on saying, really.
Yeah, definitely. Like this is the sort of thing that you could sit down even in a room of financial experts, and you'd have 10 different financial experts and maybe 12 different opinions depending on the time of year, the weather outside, you know what I mean? It's that is debatable. It's debatable, but that would be my opinion, certainly.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think if you have access to your money, you can do things. You know what? If you get some really really amazing opportunity comes up, then you've got the option to play with that money almost, or use that money. And if
Yeah.
it's stuck, in a pension pot and you can't touch it until whatever age, which you may or may not get to, then you're a little bit stuck, and it's a little bit like, well, maybe I could have done better with that. So
That's how I feel about it too. But as I said, that was what made me so reserved about it. And my inclinations, or yeah, it just didn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
What can I
What have
say?
you done
You know.
instead?
So what I have done is, first of all, I've spent quite a lot of time reading about it and reading about how best to invest. My personal portfolio, I have three things in it. Okay. I've got stocks in index funds, like what we said before. I've got some
Yeah.
bonds. Okay. So I have government bonds and some junk bonds as well, which are from governments with bad credit ratings, which I actually tailored that financial strategy from another book that I read. And then I also have some physical gold. Okay. I really like the fact that physical gold, you can have it, it's tangible, you can hold it in front of you, as opposed to stocks
Based on
which
gold.
are
Yeah.
intangible. I just think it's just really important just to have a hedge that you can physically hold and keep in your house. I don't have a
Yeah.
lot. All right, I've got very little. I
You
keep it in
actually
a
live
safe.
in Los Angeles.
Yes, yes. What did I say there? Leeds? I
I've
don't
not
think
heard of
that
that
must
place
have been a
before,
slip of the
actually.
tongue.
No.
That was a slip of the tongue. That was a slip of the tongue.
Yeah, something physical
Yeah.
which is going to likely appreciate. You'd be looking at precious metals or maybe even property. That's something else that people like to do as well, isn't it?
Yeah, man. The only reason why I lean away from that is because it's so heavily taxed. Not at the minute, it's not, because there's no stamp duty,
Mm.
but conventionally it is. The thing about property, now I don't invest in property, so again, I'm not an expert, but what I've been told is you can do it, but you just have to know a lot about it. And I think for me, it's all about to be able to do it successfully. So you're looking at houses, you're looking at where they are, where you think the area is going to be in a few
Yeah.
years, how much rent you can get versus how much you put in, i.e., its yield, how you can improve the property. So this is like a whole other dimension of knowledge that I just don't have, which a lot of people do, and that's how they make their money investing with assets, and that's completely fair. I think it's just important to pick one thing and just get good at it.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
me, that's crypto. So for other people, that could be property. For other people, that could be stocks. For other people, that could be futures and options and things of that nature, or forex. I think it's just important to pick one, you know,
Because
and
there's so many
then
ways of
that's
doing each one of these things, aren't there? Because if you're someone who's into crypto like you are, there's different ways you can work with crypto, and there's different ways you can work with stocks,
yeah,
and if you're
yeah,
if you're going to learn a pattern of trading or investing, you need to have a set plan and stick to it.
yeah. It's definitely. I mean, the difference is between someone who's knowledgeable at it and successful at it. It's literally just knowledge and practice. And I don't think any human being surely has that in them to master all those things. So it's hard enough just to get good at one. So for me, it's just about focusing on one and getting good at. Forex is a good one actually to
Mm.
spend time with, because you can trade it not every day, but you can trade it most days and it's more reliable. The patterns in the charts repeat themselves over and over. Whereas with crypto, there'll be like maybe a month or 2 months where you're just on the sidelines, not doing anything. And then everything will just, the markets will reverse and everything will look good all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And then you'll just spend like a day trading. That's what I did yesterday, actually, because things are picking up. This last month, it's been rubbish. Over lockdown, it was good. Things are on the up. It's been very heavily correlated to stocks recently, but I think it's because Donald Trump is kind of just unleashed all this monetary stimulus into the world effectively,
Mm.
and that was why most assets were doing well. I say assets because crypto, a lot of people might consider it an asset, but I believe that was where most of the money was coming from. And ever since things have, in about March time, post Corona, things just went south big time for all markets.
Yeah.
After that, crypto has been really heavily correlated to stocks, but before that, it wasn't at all. But will that last forever? I don't know.
It's
I
it's
don't
hard to
know.
see.
But it's
It's
been,
hard to predict again. Yeah.
yeah, it's been, yeah, like I say, I hadn't traded for like maybe 3 or 4 weeks because it was just really bad. But it's starting to pick up again a little bit recently. But no one knows. I mean, the trouble is at the minute with Trump, no one knows just what he's going to do if he doesn't get back in. If he doesn't get voted back in, because
not to get political, but I suspect he'll just refuse to leave.
well, yeah, I mean that, but I don't know if he might attempt to sort of destabilize the economy and the markets. But it's, again, I don't want to get into politics. I don't have any inclinations on the matter. I'm just sheerly commenting on how that might impact what we're talking about. But I don't know. Whatever your opinion is, that's totally fine. I'm just suspicious that Trump may do that personally, to sort of attempt to undermine Joe Biden's beginning of his reign somehow by saying the country was a disaster. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm just saying that that's something that I'm bearing in mind.
Yeah,
personally.
I wonder how likely it is he's going to lose, to be honest, with the way things are looking.
Yeah, it's looking like Biden's got a good shot. I mean, I know that Hillary was ahead in the polls, but Biden is quite far ahead, isn't he?
That's the thing which makes you a bit 50-50, because you just thought, oh, there's no way this ex TV show contestant gets in, and then you're like, okay, he won. How? And obviously then we've gone from there. So we're just gonna kind of play that by ear, and things get a little squirrely around election time anyway in the markets, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, generally speaking, wasn't it Ronald Reagan who was a film star as well?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know enough about American politics. If there's anyone who knows, let us know in the comments, by the way, and get your comments
sure it was
in.
Ronald. Any Americans?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, we'll wait for you.
Oh, I know someone in the chat actually. Who's really into American politics. Well, maybe we'll mess. Ishida, can you tell us if you're listening? She mightn't be able to hear us. Yes. Oh, Olivia is back from last night.
We've got Olivia. Olivia's back. Night? Yeah. Yeah, she's back.
How are you, Olivia?
It's great to see you.
Great to see you again. Smashing. What were we talking about? Oh, and wasn't it Patton? He was a general in World War II, I believe. So they quite like they have a lot more of a proclivity or an inclination for a showman to be president.
I just wonder how long it is before KSI's the PM. Or like, in fact, no. Marcus Rashford is actually king of the North, so that's happening.
Yeah, he's his political career is up and running. His is off to a flyer there. He just bullied the Tories into making us getting free school meals, so that was pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, and he's back for round 2 this week.
Cutting that off now.
Yeah.
Oh, is he?
He's back for round 2 this week.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Olivia, thank you. He was a Hollywood actor, so yeah, for sure. You were on the money with that one.
Yeah, I knew that. They have a bit of an inclination. And Woodrow Wilson, he was like the all-action frontier cowboy. He discovered there's large portions of the Midwest that he discovered, and then he became the president. He's like the sort of he's this all-action kind of frontier man, all-American dude. He's got a really interesting life.
And Arnold as well. Suleiman's come out with.
Arnie, yeah,
of course.
Has anybody heard of Jesse Ventura? Have you heard of Jesse Ventura?
I've heard the name. I have no idea who he is or she is.
So have you ever seen Predator, the movie?
I feel like I must have.
Yeah. Or have you ever seen Running Man?
I've not seen Running Man. I think I've probably seen Predator. I don't think I've seen Running Man.
Do you remember the big guy with a massive gun?
Yeah, vaguely. Yeah.
Blaine. He is the governor of Massachusetts, or he was the governor of Massachusetts. So he made it in the political arena as well.
It is a popularity contest in America as opposed to what you're actually going to do, though, isn't it?
A lot more so than over here. I mean, yeah, it seems to be that you've got a advantage if you're a Hollywood star, or whereas over here it's a little bit more Eton-esque, and I don't know. There's a very much an archetype of a politician, like a box that you have to fit into. Whereas over there, it's just anything goes. But that's the way it should be, though, because then it's for the people, man. It should, like Barack Obama. He was not privileged in any way. He was. I think he was raised by a single parent, and I don't think he came from money. And he became the head of the president of America.
Did he not have family ties to Bush, or did I make that up?
I don't think so.
I have to Google that.
I don't think
I'm gonna
so.
have to Google that one. But yeah, should we get back to the? I don't know how we've gotten onto this, but what was the point we
We
were
keep
trying to
doing this.
make?
We keep doing this.
What was the point we were trying to make? The American election screws up the markets. That's what we were saying, right? That was it.
Yeah, that's where it came from. That's where it came from. But yeah,
I'm gonna Google this actually, but I'm certain he's a Obama related
I could be wrong.
to
I could be wrong.
Bush. I'm pretty sure because I was just like, wait, how?
I could be wrong. But
Okay, there's some that seem to
not
seem to
to.
suggest that he's related to the Clintons very distantly. I don't know how true that is.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna look that up. But I always thought I remember vaguely having a conversation with someone, which is not really the where you want to get your facts from, I suppose, or before you go out on a limb and claim things,
That's more fun.
which
That's
I've
much
just
more
done.
fun.
That's where most of my facts come from, man. But anyway, yeah. But another thing we wanted to talk about, not to like segue totally away from what we're discussing, but I thought was quite interesting was you've been on this journey where you've been creating content for quite a while, and this is maybe something I just wanted to explore because I had never put a video even on YouTube 6 weeks
No.
ago. Okay. I thought, I have to admit again, I thought this was just not something that was me or something that I would ever do. I, rightly or wrongly, and in fact, in hindsight, wrongly, I thought that it would be quite like cringeworthy, and it just wasn't me. And I'm just not a social media
Yeah.
person, you know. And I would look at Instagram posts where people would be posing on the beach, and I'd almost like laugh, and I'd almost be like, "Oh, you're just showing off," you know
Well,
what I
yeah,
mean?
but
But that's wrong. That's wrong, you know. I don't know. But that's now that I've kind of started this group and started putting videos on YouTube and started interacting with people on the Facebook group. I previously thought Facebook was overall a negative force in the world, but now I'm convinced again that it's something positive because the number of people that reach out to you and they just have positive things to say and you can help them. And it's just been amazing. I've actually enjoyed it so much and it's completely turned on its
mm,
head that perception for me all through this impetus or this group that's just inadvertently went well. It's kind of taken off really, and people have been interested in it. So I just wanted to ask you, Javier, was that something that how you felt, or what made you start? Maybe what made you think, actually, do you know what I'd really like to do a podcast? I just what how did you arrive there? I'm just curious.
also, just to let the guys know, James is interested in this because he's thinking he needs his own podcast. So
Well,
hit
I
us up
think
in the
as well as that,
comments
it's
if you
just
think that James should get his own financial podcast. Uh,
I mean, I think as well as that, it's just that it's maybe turned that preconception on my head, and I think that everybody should actually put content online now about something that you're passionate in, because the people that will gravitate towards you, and how much you'll get better at
hmm.
that thing, and how much you'll learn is just amazing. Yeah, so it's kind of a little bit of that, but then a little bit of what I've just said as
Yeah, I
well.
mean, it's very interesting how this all kind of kicks off because I mean, I had a plan when I started out. Um, Initially, in the first couple of months, it was very much like yourself, just go, oh, I'm just going to do this, see what happens. And it's funny that someone's mentioned Arnie because, I was very much into the gym and stuff like that. And when you go on Instagram back in 2017, etc., there were loads of these shout out pages and things like that for people who go to the gym, people who are lifting, workout videos, and you could send in a video or a picture and you get featured. Um, and there was absolutely nothing for dentists at that time. And now there are three or four different pages
Mm.
who, I think I was one of the first who started doing what I was particularly doing. And now there's a couple of other guys who are in that space as well. But initially it was just me going, oh, I'll see what happens with this. Also knowing that I failed finals. Most people who watch these things know that I failed finals. So obviously in the UK, you resit in November. And then to get into FD, you either do a March entry or you do September, don't we? So I had the 10 months, so I needed something to fill my time. and this is one of the things that was useful for me to stay in touch and keep my eye in a way. On top of that, I went
Yeah.
traveling with a friend. We went to Sri Lanka. And while we were there, I was thinking, well, I'm already halfway across the world. I've been speaking to people in Australia here and there. Sack it. Whilst we we're there, I booked more tickets to random places, so to go and meet people and just like travel as well, because I didn't really get a gap year, which I maybe wanted.
Yeah.
So I did it afterwards, and this all tied in, and I got to meet people who were out in Australia, dentists out there. I got to meet a guy in Kuwait, which is where my grandparents are, and who's doing some really, really beautiful work. He was a Queen's Belfast grad. So, I literally
Cool.
just rocked up to his clinic and we just chilled for 4 hours, went for a coffee, spoke about dentistry, life, all this kind of thing. And then while we were there, he was like, man, if you ever want to come work here, if you want to live near your grandparents and cousins, shout me out. We'll get a job. I've enjoyed this so much. And I was like, you know what, bro? This was such a fun chat. We should do a podcast sometime. Um, and the idea kind of grew
Yeah.
from there. I've had him on a couple of times, Dr. Lidawi Raja. He's a great guy, very knowledgeable, but it's difficult with him to get a good schedule to do it regularly. So I've kind of just gone off on my own and gone and just interviewing random people about random topics. Did a lot during lockdown, which was pretty crazy, where
Yeah.
things kind of moved on. We did Instagram lives, but for
Yeah.
example,
You told me about how your following it kind of
uh,
ballooned over lockdown. It went from 13 to like
pretty
40K.
pretty much, yeah, pretty much that. And
Yeah.
obviously because everyone was on their phones all the time, and we started off very
Yeah.
much doing cases, which I
Mm.
didn't I didn't really want to do because I didn't want to box myself in as the dental guy. Sorry, you don't want to box yourself in as a dental guy because the idea of the page is
Yeah.
more to get the personality of people out there as opposed to their work, which is why, other than people who are supporting the page, via the Patreon group, only those guys are getting actual cases posted, and most of the time they're not really fussed, and I've only really posted one or two. Um, so the idea
Mm.
behind it is actually to make these connections. Like if you, for example, get a message from someone in, I don't know, Greece after doing this podcast, and like, oh, bro, yeah, if you're ever down in Athens, hit me up. It's like to get someone you can chill
Yeah.
with when you're out in somewhere else,
Yeah.
as opposed to learning.
And that is a massive positive to it. That is something that's really nice. You make all these friends, and I think I've just come away with the impression. I always thought the world was a good place, but now I think it's an even better place. Like there's so much positivity out there, and there's so many people that just want to help you, just to help you.
Mm.
Or yeah, with like the group, they'll just pop in and they'll just say, "Oh, I really like it. I think it's cool. Thanks for setting it up," stuff like that. And yeah, it's just positive. It's cool, and it's like a whole dimension that I just wasn't aware of before. And I think that really it should be something that we maybe a lot more of us do. And I wish I would have done sooner.
Yeah, I mean this is the thing. I started the Instagram thing back in 2017 December time. I wish I'd started the podcast at the same time. If I was to go back and do anything, that's the one
Yeah,
mistake I made. I started last September. If I'd had another 2 years, because speaking on camera is difficult. You're umming and ahhing a lot. If you watch, oh
yeah,
my god, if you watch any of the ones where I'm speaking for the first time, it's like, is someone holding a gun to this guy's head? Or like, he just doesn't seem normal. There's something wrong. He's a little bit too wooden. And the more and more you do, the
yeah. It's a thing.
the better you get at it. So
It's a thing. You have a. I actually think you come out the other end and you have a newfound respect for news reporters. Like you just see it from their side and their delivery when they sit on TV and they look into the camera and it's bang 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 and they don't pause
but
for breath. That
they're
is so
reading though,
hard to
aren't they?
do. Ah, well, that
The
helps.
ones I
Yeah,
have
I
respect for is
guess.
the
Yeah.
comics. Do you know people who go and like do stand up in a
Okay,
comedy
even
club?
that's a better
Oh
example.
wow.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not like they've got a routine, some of these guys. They go there and they go, I'm gonna pick on that guy, and that guy, and we'll just run with it. That's where you've got
Yeah,
some
it
real skill.
is. It's pretty impressive,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah. Maybe someday.
Yeah, so I mean, how has your experience been with doing the videos? I'm interested to hear because I know from experience there was one video I took, one of the first Instagram for dentists tips videos. I had a 15 or no, it was 9 or I think 9 minutes of actual video, but I was there sat at this desk for must be like 4 or 5 hours to get that 6 or 7, 8 minutes video out. How's your experience been?
Yeah, similar. I think that from the other side of the camera, people maybe don't see the side of the person who's putting the content out. It's something that at the start, I mean, it used to be maybe you'd have 3 minutes of, okay, very, very first
Yeah,
video. I actually hadn't worked out how to edit the videos yet. So I had to do it all in one take.
yeah.
Okay. So, and I'd never spoken in front of camera as well. And it must have taken, I had about 3 minutes of content, and it must have been about 2 or 3 hours before I said everything that I wanted to say, said it all in one without any cuts in between, because I didn't know how to use video editing software at that point, and until the point that I was happy. And also I didn't have any equipment, so I kind of just wedged the camera up on some books, and you can see it like rocking around when I'm moving around. So it wasn't so
Yeah.
great. But I think for anybody who wants to do it, you got to start somewhere. And another thing that I just want to touch upon on as well, when you put something up on Facebook for the first time, the amount of stick your friends give you, honestly, they just won't let it lie. But you kind of just have to power through that a little bit. And eventually it just becomes the thing that you do. And then you get to reap the fruits, I suppose, or you reap what you sow
Mm.
effectively, and all these really positive things happen that I just didn't expect at all. And I'm loving it. Honestly, it's so nice. And we wouldn't be sat here doing this, and I wouldn't have got to meet Jasneet last week.
No, no.
And I'm honestly, I'm having a blast. It's incredible. And the number of people you meet and how friendly everybody is, it's great. I
I
love
think
it.
that's the thing, isn't it? And I mean, there are, like you said before, you previously had that different kind of feeling about social media. I'm not going to lie, there are times where you get pissed off, for example, because so and so's been saying something behind your back. It happens, but you kind of just rise above it
Mm,
because then, we humans have this tendency to focus on the one negative. Like if I
there
tell
is
you,
that too.
oh,
Yeah.
how was work? And you had 30 patients in that day, 29 went well, and there was one dodgy, funny appointment where something went wrong. You're going to tell me about the
Yeah.
dodgy appointment. Whereas actually you
Mm,
had 29, 30 appointments that were just swimming perfect. No, not a problem in the world. People are lovely. You only had one person kick off, and
mm.
that's the one that sticks. And that's the thing that I try and keep in mind. And I'm pretty heavy on the block button actually, which is a
Oh, oh
yeah.
yeah. I haven't had to block anybody yet, but I'm sure that day will
I th-
come.
I think you'll be
That
all
day is
right.
an
I think the very
inevitability.
nature of what I do is a lot more of my face as opposed to things that
I see.
as opposed to things, for you it's like you're just giving advice. If you look at my Instagram, it's just pictures of me, guy. And it's like, you know, it's maybe push myself out there a bit
Yeah,
more. So it's
I
it's one of
think
those.
I think for you it's probably more common because on Facebook it generally tends to be actual people's accounts, whereas on Instagram you can just hide. You can hide behind a meme as your profile
Yeah.
picture. You can do that on
You can
Instagram,
do it on
right? You can
both.
do
You
that,
can do
can't
it on
you?
both, really, can't you? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, on Facebook, yeah, I guess you can. Yeah, I haven't had it happen to me yet, which is good, but that day will come. That day will come,
That's
I'm
when you
sure.
made it. That's what they say, don't they?
That's a rite of
Yeah,
passage.
I'm just
Yeah,
making a
yeah.
fake
Then you know
account right
you're.
now to say James Martin doesn't know what he's talking about. I lost all
Oh
my
no, then you'll
money.
inflate my ego. Then we'll. Oh no. Oh yeah, that sort of stuff. Yeah, I might panic a
Yeah.
bit. In crypto, yeah, then I'd
But
panic.
it's one of those things, and I think it's one of the reasons I mean, have you been on the Facebook dental groups? Some of the actual dental ones. There's some crazy stuff going on there, so I tend to stay away from that side because oh
Is
yeah,
there?
there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of drama that's on those groups, and it's great
Is
fun to
there?
watch.
I've been missing this. I always tend to think that dentists are like really professional, and you know it doesn't really descend to the kind of uh, theatrical kind of drama, people attacking each other and
Oh,
all that nature. But you
there's
say
there's
otherwise.
some tasty stuff that goes down. Um,
Oh,
so there are a couple of instances that come to mind. There was the case where there was some guy being relatively racist, and he got GDC'd by another member of the dental professional, but it was from a dental forum, and then there was a whole thing about, oh, you shouldn't be reporting people, blah blah blah, and it was
No,
pretty
I'm
crazy.
I'm all for that. If somebody
Mm.
thinks those things, then, well, I don't know if, yeah, it's a sticky one. I mean, I think that he or she should be reprimanded somehow, but I don't know. It's hard. I don't want to get
There's
into
some
it.
basically there's some stuff that goes down, and it's great when
Yeah.
you're not involved, because I've been involved once.
Oh dear.
I've been
Okay.
involved once,
Yeah.
and that wasn't as fun. I got a bit peeved, which is what made me stay away from the groups after that point. But I
Yeah.
found that the Instagram community is amazing. There is
Cool.
very few people who are kind of dickish, is the word, I suppose.
Mm.
And the one, and the one, because it's so obvious, if there's so much words on Facebook, it's all comments, as opposed to Instagram.
Mm.
You post a picture, and if someone DMs you and they're being a bit of a whatever, you can just delete the message, ignore it, and it's not there on your
Mm.
on your post. And if everyone sees someone comment on a post, you're just like, what's wrong with it? What's up with that person? Why are they being such whatever? Whereas it's easier to have
Mm.
little arguments hidden within replies on Facebook, I think. But it's one of those things.
Yeah,
Oh, we
that's
got a
the
comment.
negative side, I suppose, of social media, isn't it? But
Livier has drops a great comment. Dental education in
oh yes.
America costs on average 250K. From a financial standpoint, do you see it as a wise investment? It makes more sense for dentists to be financially literate.
I think that you have to weigh up what matters to you, Livia. So I don't know anything about you, but let's say from I'll speak from the point of view of a UK
Yeah.
dentist, and Javier, feel free to butt in if you don't agree with me. There is very much the mentality of a lot of people who get into dentistry and they just think it's because of money. So let's be frank, they are out there. Okay, I'm not going to point fingers. I'm not going to name names.
Not in
It's
the U.
in.
Not you're not
It's
going to make
def.
money in the UK. I'm just gonna not as an associate anyway.
What's that? Sorry,
I,
what?
I I always laugh when people say that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you must be doing well, dentist day." He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just an
Or do you know
associate, mate."
what you get all the time? They pay for a crown, and your car's outside, and they're like, "I'm paying for that, aren't I?" And you're like, "No, you're paying for a crown, bro. Let's not get into this." There was yeah, that happens, but that's like your one of your kind of most hated line, most common and most despised
Yeah.
things that patients say to you. But I think, Livia, what you have to ask yourself is, what are my priorities? So if you're looking at it purely from the point of view of money, and is this 250K going to generate me, if enough money to be able to repay that? Yes, it probably will, but that's only if you're happy to be a dentist, which is a job that you want to go into with the right mindset, and it's something that you have to be able to enjoy it. I feel like there has to be a passion there, or I feel like there has to be a strong drawing aside from money to want to do the job
Mm.
100%. All right, because take it from me, I'm someone who, I don't know if my long-term future lies in dentistry, and there was once upon a time there was a younger me who thought that if I get paid X, Y, and Z, I can I can do whatever, you know what I mean? But it's really, really, really not all about money. It's really, really, really not. And when I don't know if I mentioned, but I've had surgery on my knee recently, so I'm not working, and I don't know if I will be for a little bit. So if I can get really good at trading, or if I can do something else, then I would quite happily not go back to dentistry
Mm.
personally. But I'm still weighing that up in my mind. I think that this whole kind of journey where I've set up the Facebook group has made me realize that there is another possibility, and burnout is really, really, really common. If you're looking at it purely from the point of view of a return on investment and money, I would definitely encourage you to explore. I would definitely encourage you to explore other things, Livia. Is there anything that you'd like to add to that? Does that make
I
sense?
think it's. I think you're right there. I think the debt in the States is pretty crazy, pretty scary. But from what I understand, it's different to how we may see things, because rate of return in the States in terms of a salary is much, much greater for the average dentist. I think you're talking maybe 150
Yeah,
as a median salary, which
yeah,
is, I'm sure you can tell me the same as,
good money.
that's maybe triple what an associate in the UK is looking at. So again, you're right in saying if you enjoy the dentistry, if you enjoy your day-to-day work, you're not going to feel that. And there are things that you can do to mitigate that kind of a thing as well. For example, I live at home, which means I'm not paying rent, which means I'm not paying extra bills, which means I'm not paying internet for, uh, an extra set of internet, which can be maybe 30, 40 quid a month. So all these things, if you are worried about that outgoing, maybe think, okay, I'll spend 2 3 years before if there's no wife and kid, or husband and kids, or wife and kids, depending on you're male or female, and everything else, then you can decide, okay, I'm just going to live frugally at home for a while and just knock off some of that debt. And that could be a way of doing things. There are things you can do and still be a dentist if it's your real passion to get on with.
I think as well, what I would just say as well, now, Livia, I know you're from the US. You told us that yesterday. I was actually speaking to another dentist called Laura Studholme. Have you seen her on Facebook? She's quite prominent on Facebook.
You'll have to link me to it. I don't go on Facebook a lot, to be honest. I go
Yeah.
on your
Oh,
group,
fair
and I
enough.
go on some Manchester
Oh,
United groups,
cool.
and that's about it.
Fair enough. Yeah. So we kind of, again, I was saying earlier about the networking thing, or maybe my concept of Facebook being flipped on its head in terms of it once being negative, and I thought it wasn't beneficial to the world, versus now I actually see that there is still a lot of good on there. She's someone that I've met through Facebook, and we're kind of friends. She's a dentist from the US. She actually runs a business in the US, and it's specifically for dentists who are burnt out, who want to get into something else,
Mm,
who want to change careers, and that's her whole business. And she actually recently told me that the dental debts now for new students are more in the ballpark of the 500K mark. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it sounds like it's between those two figures. I think it obviously might vary on the university, but she seemed pretty certain on that because I was quite blown away. So I don't know if it might even be more than that 250K figure.
I've heard
Again,
some
I'm not
different
an
things.
American dentist. I
Yeah,
don't know. Yeah,
I, w-
yeah. So it's definitely something to look into, Livier.
Mm. Yeah, we're both very much UK based. I do know that if you're going to a dental school which is in state, then there's a significant discount as opposed to going out of state to a different state to do your dentistry, so you can save money that way. I do know that one of the girls that I had on the 24-hour podcast, she was doing that, and she's saving a good chunk doing that as well. So, Olivia, maybe that's something that might be appropriate for you if you can go somewhere within your actual state. You can get the in-state discount, I think. And what was the other thing? The debt's daunting. Yeah, I mean that is the thing. If the career is right for you and you're not going to get burnt out because you don't like the job, then I think maybe that's probably going to be okay. But like we say, if there's the lady that James has been speaking to, who maybe helps people get out of the dental sphere if they're struggling with it as well, and maybe that's something that you can do early doors to find a second source of income.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's actually a really good point that I'll just jump in on. There's no reason, I suppose, why you can't even maybe necessarily educate yourself about these things at present, because it's definitely something that the sooner you do it, the better. And there's no harm in doing that from any point of view. And if you were to decide that actually this speaks to me a lot more and I find this a lot more interesting, then you'll learn something, I suppose,
Mm.
just by doing that. That would be a good idea. Yeah.
If you send me the link to her
Good
group or her
point.
page, I'll drop it in the description underneath the video.
Yeah, actually, I'll do that just now. Actually,
Guys,
yeah, I'll do that just now.
cool. Guys, if you're still watching, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000 by the end of the year, which is a bit of a reach, but I'm hoping we can get there. So yeah, we just hit 500 this week, so I'm pretty happy about that. And Doku has been
That's awesome.
running all the comments groups in the live streams. He's going to be coming on soon, by the way, so that'll be fun. Doc, we're going to sort a date out. Don't worry about that. Have you managed to get the link in there?
Yeah, I've just popped it in the chat. Is that good? Or
I don't know if it came up. You send it to me on the Skype. I'll put it in the description underneath the video.
okay, I can. It's just that the Skype's on the iPad. You see,
we'll do it late. We'll do it later.
Technical.
We'll do it later.
Yeah, technical difficulties, guys. We'll put it in the description of the video when it's posted. How about that?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll get
works.
that sorted out for sure once I get the link.
But
yeah, so.
But for me, sorry, all I was going to say, the whole sort of dentistry job satisfaction thing, a little bit on that from my perspective, from my point of view. I've actually, well, we'll go way back. So I've been kind of plodding along, and I've done NHS dentistry. I worked in quite a deprived area in Leeds, and then I've also done dentistry at the other end, like quite what's the word? How can I say? Well, it was private and it was quite high end. And both of those things come with your problems, with different problems. If you think this is the promised land, the private end, it comes with a whole different area of issues. But anyway, let's not get into that too much. So I've been the guy who's hated it, like literally hated it. Like at the very start, when at the very start when you knew and you just can't do it, you can't because you haven't had enough experience. You come out of uni. I mean, which uni did you go to?
I went to Newcastle.
Javier?
Yeah.
Cool. So I don't know how much clinical experience you guys had, but at Leeds it was like severely wanting. So I'd come out of uni and I had pulled maybe 15 teeth, and you could not pull a tooth when you've pulled 15 teeth. And I think I'd done 2 root canals. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd done 2 root canals ever. And you just are not at the level yet where you are self-sufficient or you are able to be autonomous or work on your own.
Nowhere
and
near.
that's where your FD definitely. And that's where, and do you know what? I've heard that some of the London schools, it's maybe you get out of uni and you've done like 20 fillings and things like that. They just get no clinical time. Apparently Sheffield's really good. Apparently you get loads of clinical time there.
I think
I've
think it's down to luck from what I've seen at all of the dental schools. So for example, I had done almost no caries removal within uni and putting in a filling. Everything seemed to go towards an endo, so I would be doing loads and loads of endos or an extraction. Whereas actually doing a composite, doing an amalgam, I'd barely done any. So it's one of those things that it's just pure luck because you get these patients and then part of the issue is I don't know if this is the same in the States and other places. We had, let's say, I think it was 16 students on the clinic, 2 nurses, 2 clinicians who were looking after us, 3 if you were lucky. If everyone's got a patient in, that's not a lot of nursing time or clinician time or teacher time to each student. So you might only have 1 patient in a 4-hour session. That's not the most efficient way of getting, learning done. And obviously you're going to have less opportunity to do lots and lots of treatment. So I think that's one of the issues that we come up against, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's really is a struggle at the start, and just because of total inexperience. And where I was kind of going with that was when I was brand new to it, there's this expectation from you that you can just do it straight away, and it's quite different when you're a dentist versus a lot of careers because let's say you do something wrong, then or you something then that actually has direct implications for someone who you might have to have a filling done again. They might have to, you might snap the tooth and they have to go and get the tooth taken out by a specialist. I don't know, something like that. And it gets to you. It's something that you have to push through at the very start. And definitely that was me at the very beginning. And I pushed through that. I came out the other end. And then there was a time where I just thought I was like slick Rick, like a hot shot. Like I could do the dentistry, but it was very much the NHS brand of dentistry. You know what I mean? And I could do it. I was pretty happy with it, and I was really comfortable in what I did. And then I went to private, and it's just a whole new world. It's really difficult. The patient, it depends which practice you're into, and depends how you promote your products and things like that, and what sort of dentistry you want to do. But it can be very challenging from the point of view in that the patients definitely do have way higher expectations, because of what they pay. Some people say that that's a myth. I personally think that that's
Of
true.
course it is, because it's a
And
service at the end of the day.
yeah, well, yeah, that's it. And maybe I'm at the point now where I'm just thinking, I can't, I liked it. And I get, maybe if I was just at that level where I was just getting comfortable, maybe in that setting. And maybe I liked dentistry. I liked it about 6 out of 10,
Yeah.
you know? And then maybe I've kind of, because of my circumstances, because of lockdown, because of the fact that I can't work at the minute, maybe that's made me realize that maybe I would be happier trading, or maybe I would be happier doing this. And maybe there's just, I think I was looking at the world like this, that if anybody can see my eye through there, you can barely see it, but I've done that intentionally. It's really
Yeah.
small. Whereas now I'm like this, you know what I mean? I actually realized that there's life outside of dentistry,
You
and
definitely
that
get in a
there are
bubble.
other things.
You definitely get in a bubble in the
Oh
dental
my
world.
goodness, you just think that it's the only thing. You've got these blinkers on, and you just think like your life becomes dentistry because you want to get good, and to get good at it you have to study so much. And maybe I went really far down that path, and maybe now through this whole inadvertent experience where it mightn't be necessarily something that would have ideally happened to me, and I wouldn't really have wanted this to happen, but because it has, and because of where it's put me, it's made me reevaluate things. And I'm just at a bit of a crossroads effectively, and maybe I'll go back to it. Maybe I'll just see how things go over the next few weeks and months.
Yeah.
But it's been a journey, and it's been eye opening. It really has. It really has. So in a weird way, I'm kind of, I wouldn't say I'm grateful, but it's been interesting. It's been
Let's
interesting.
hold that thought on NHS versus private. We're just going to field a couple of the comments. Olivier
Oh yeah, sure.
says right on. Yes, applied in June. Interviewing presently. Hope to stay in state at UCLA. So yeah, that will save you a lot of money. And thank you. Yep, share James's page and mine too as well, and of course the YouTube channel. That'd be great. We've done loads of stuff on here which would be useful to predents, and financial advice is always going to be useful. So definitely check out James's Facebook page as well. Suleiman says he had a steroid injection in his spine yesterday. Definitely keen to be more
Uh,
financially literate. So he's got a plan B. As concerned, may have a short
Suleiman is
career.
someone. Yeah, Suleiman is someone. Something that I briefly touched upon earlier. It's good to see you tonight, Suleiman. Suleiman is someone that I'm actually on a business course at the minute, and Suleiman is someone I've met through there.
Awesome. Thank you for
And
joining us, man.
Suleiman's had a, yeah, thanks for joining us, Suleiman. Suleiman's had a bit of a rough time with his back recently because he's had a slipped disc and he can't work, but he's got a huge passion for dentistry.
Mm.
So I wish you all the best in that, Suleiman, and I hope that steroid injection helps or alleviates it
I
in some
could
way.
feel that in my own back as well, because I mean I've got a small back injury, not very huge or anything like that, just a little niggle, but I can imagine a slip disc is, it must be excruciating at times. So I really hope you get better, mate. Dr. Arua
Yeah.
says good vibes, always good vibes, man. This side, this side, this side.
I love it.
And he agrees with you as well. So yeah, thank you all for joining us. By the way, if you're watching live, and if you're watching later on, then hit the next live up. It's 8 p.m. every Friday, plus a few others. So yeah, thank you all for joining us. Yeah, I think going back to what you were talking about with the NHS side of dentistry versus private side of dentistry, how was the financial side and those things? Not going into actual numbers, but how was the finance versus stress of the job? Was it worth it? Because obviously that's something that I am looking into myself.
Good question. Really good question. And that is something I'm still presently figuring out.
Mm,
Okay. And the first thing I'll say is that it actually is not necessarily better remunerated is private
no.
until you become very competent at it. Okay. It's a completely like it's a completely different ball game, and the expectations, your knowledge that what they grant you at uni, when you read and when you do a lot of courses and things like that, a lot of that is taught by people who aren't actually necessarily that informed on what they're speaking about. And there's a lot of things that I learned at uni that I know for a fact now are just plain wrong, or I definitely wouldn't do things in that
Mm.
way. When I was working on NHS, it's more like, it's like quick fire dentistry. It's like bang, 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 bang. You see 30 patients a
It's
day.
what's the
You know what I
fastest
mean?
way I can get this problem solved, and I'm not going to have to
Yeah.
send away for an expensive lab bill with 3 or more crowns or something. That's kind of like this weird juggling act you're playing.
Well, yeah, it's the UDA system
Mm.
is not necessarily in everybody's interest, shall we say. And how can I say this? Yeah, it's you can do that dentistry, and it's the patients by and large get it. They don't, like, if you can do something really quickly, they don't get particular about it.
Mm.
Whereas in private, because they're paying, they expect you to go into a lot of like, it's almost like it's like patient management is key, and they expect to be treated like royalty a little bit more as well. So you can't just kind of
You can't
rush
sling
through
them in
it.
and out like you do on the NHS, 10 minutes in. Yeah.
Definitely. It's really a different vibe. And it was something that I had to adapt to at the start, because I was like, okay, bang, bang, bang. We got this patient waiting. We want to have time to clean up. We got to get them out. And then at the very start, people would say, actually, hang on. People, there was a few times where we had to have these frank conversations between me and the guy who had the practice. And he was like, James, I know this is what you do,
Yeah.
but maybe that's not how we do it. And then for me, it was kind of a bit eye opening. It kind of changed my understanding of how dentistry is undertaken.
Yeah.
So it's good for me from that point of view, because it allowed me to grow. Anyway, where were we going? I actually totally forgot what
We were talking
I
about
started talking there.
the stress levels versus the remuneration, and what the optimal sort of was private better in terms of, well, we
Right.
we know you could probably
Yeah.
make a lot of money on both, depending on how
Yeah.
good your treatment is and how much you're charging in private, and how fast
Yeah.
you're working on the NHS. But it's that stress level that you want to
Yeah.
work out.
Yeah. I actually find NHS less stressful. I'm gonna say it right now.
Really?
I know that your standard, maybe it was just the practices that I were in. Maybe it's, yeah, I find it less stressful, but maybe it was because I got to a level where I already knew all my patients
Right.
and
It's
they knew
comfort.
me.
It's just,
And
yeah.
yeah, so we had that relationship. Whereas at my newest job, it was a new list, and for anybody who has ever came into a practice, it is really hard because they don't know you. They sometimes are quite inexperienced as to what to expect at the dentist,
Yeah.
and quite often a lot of that will reflect back onto you, and they'll be a little bit more ready to get on your back about things or to complain about perceived issues that they have. And it's definitely more difficult to come into a patient list that's already established. You've got the odds set against you a little bit more.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So do you think that? Sorry, did I get that the wrong way around? You went into a new list, or you went into an existing list with patients who already kind of, this is how we do things here.
So they had their established list, but I was the new dentist who had a new list, you see.
Okay, so you were
But
seeing more new patients.
they but there was, okay, yeah, fair enough. I see what you mean. They had some of their patients I would see as well,
Right.
like
Okay.
from time to time. So that's where that came from. Yeah, I see what you're getting at. So that's a good point.
Yeah. No, just because, I mean, if I tell you a bit about myself, my kind of interest within dentistry is endo and pretty much nothing else, which is why, I think it's something that people come to in pain. It's the last chance to save the tooth, and I
Yeah.
enjoy that challenge of trying to do this difficult treatment that other people struggle with sometimes. And probably if I stay within dentistry, if I'm not an endodontist by in 6 years time or something, you could probably give me a call and go, bro, you feeling okay? Like, how's your stress levels?
So that's the
Yeah.
that's the end game. That's the result.
But again, at the same time, like you were saying, I'm doing this podcast now. and I've had community support, people who chip in monthly to help improve things and keep everything going, and it's very stress free. I get to talk to these incredible people and get stories out there. So it's finding this balance of what's better and what makes me feel
It's
better.
it's definitely something that's been on my mind because it is stressful, let's be honest, and people get on your back. Even sometimes you will industry and the patient will just be convinced that there's something wrong, and it just feels like you're a bit strung up quite a lot. And I'm actually weighing up in my mind, is it worth that? My life has just been such a gift these last few weeks, and getting to do all these things has been amazing. And this is just going back to or reflecting on the point that I said earlier, that I think that everybody should give content creation a thought about something that they're passionate
Mm,
in, because I honestly believe that everybody out there in the world has something that they can teach others and something that is of value to other people. And for me, that's something that I've kind of been learning about just in my own spare time, that I actually didn't really it never really occurred to me that it would be useful to other people, you know. And now that I began this, it's just I can see that hopefully a lot of people have gained from it. I've gained from it so much, and it's given me a purpose when I haven't been able to work, and it's always healthy.
yeah,
Yeah, it's just I just think that everybody should think about it, and maybe I'm just trying to share this message because I know how much it would have helped me. Uh, um, if I would have got into lockdown, I'd be so much more further along than what I
yeah.
am. But I know how much it would have helped a past version of me. So I'm hoping that this message or this idea can help others because it's just really powerful.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. And once you find, oh, actually, this is something that I'm, passionate about, and it could be multifaceted. You can have more than one passion. Like yourself, you've obviously got your gaming system down in the background there, which
Oh, this thing is
yeah,
awesome. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, this was I spent most of my childhood playing games, probably a little bit too much of my childhood. So this is like 10-year-old James Martin's dream home right here. This is the manifestation
yeah. No, I mean it looks great. It
of
looks
that
great. I
ideal.
do love the brick wall, which unfortunately the guys can't see because I've cropped your video as well.
If I do this,
Yeah, yeah, they can see the brick
yeah,
wall. That is
I see.
beautiful.
You know what's funny about brick walls? Everybody's all like, oh, they're a period feature. Oh, they're
Yeah.
beautiful. But really, it's just somebody who couldn't be bothered on the wall, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's just
You
so
probably
happens that
save some space as well because plaster is pretty thick, You
yeah, well, that too. But I think
yeah.
some clever house marketing guru somewhere along the line has coined this. And I have to admit, I'm a sucker for a brick wall, so I think it's worked.
Yeah. Uh
I think it's worked.
on houses, when they say period features, it means little pokey spaces that you can't really use.
Or has anybody ever looked at a house that's not in an up and coming area? There must be some areas that are on their way out. You know what I mean?
Yes, how
It
they're
always
gonna
says up
say,
and
yeah,
coming.
down and out will price will drop.
They're always up and coming for some reason. I don't
Yeah.
know why. And they're always close to local amenities.
Good transport links.
Always. Good transport links. Yeah. I could be an estate agent, I swear.
Yeah.
Honestly. Can I get some more water?
Yeah, shoot, go for
Is
it.
that
Go for it.
okay? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm only going to be a minute.
Guys, so while James gets himself some water, make sure to hit that like button. It actually really helps. For some reason, into YouTube algorithm and all that. Get down in the comment section anything that you think you might be able to do some content creation with, along the lines of what James was saying. What are the things that you're passionate about, and is there a way, do you guys think, to work that passion into some sort of a secondary income? Because obviously this whole talk is all about money management and investing. Is there a way that you could use your passion in order to kind of turn it into some way of getting, a little stream of money, which would take some of the weight off the actual main day-to-day job that you've got? I'm really interested to hear what the things that you guys do are that could possibly turn into, that amazing thing that just blossoms into something big and takes away some of the stress from your lives. So let me know what those things are that might be the one for you guys, and we'll maybe talk about some of those as well. Um, if you're enjoying the stuff which I've been putting out on Instagram, on YouTube, head over. First of all, subscribe. But if you want to do a little bit more, head over to the Patreon group, which is linked down below. There's a couple of benefits and perks to joining up, as well as helping me out. So check that out as well, if you would like to do that. We've got a little group which is on a Discord channel where you can chat with me and all the other guys who've joined up. I also do one-to-one Instagram tuition, which is one of the passions that I've got. So that's kind of the way that I'm going along with things. So that's kind of my that's how I've made a secondary sort of little bit that I can do. To get a little extra income on the side. So you can see all these things that you do could turn into something really, really useful. And we've got a comment from Dr. Awura. Agree with you, Doc. At the end of the day, we strive to get the balance. Making the difference to the world is what counts. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you're back. I was off on one there.
Well, you've been talking for an hour and a half. It's absolutely flowing by.
No, it always happens. It's funny. Hisham last week, he was like, "Bro, can you send me a list of all the questions? And do you reckon is it going to be half an hour?" I was like, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll be okay."
Yeah, it's never a problem. I actually had a chat with a lady from California.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, and she rang me up. We did a face-to-face, like a Zoom call.
All right.
And that was the prep for the podcast. Okay. And I said to her, right, we can talk at 7, but I have to call my mom at 9 o'clock, because I said I was going to call my mom.
Yeah.
All right. And we started talking, right? And next thing I know, I look at the clock and it was 10 to 9, and we hadn't even talked about the podcast and what we were going to do. So we had to shoehorn that into 10 minutes. So there's going to be a very rushed kind of botched podcast on me for the Horizon, but it's completely my fault.
You've had
plenty
of practice right now, so I'm sure you'll be fine, mate.
I think there was like a running joke in my old practice that I used to run behind a lot, and a lot of it was me doing that. So
Are you the slow
I think
guy?
that I'm the guy who talks way too much, and I actually am quite slow and fussy as well. Yeah. So double whammy.
Yeah, I just asked the guys. I don't know if you had your headphones still in. I asked the guys what the potential side projects that they could be getting on with to make a secondary income. So
really interesting. Yeah, I'd love to hear some answers on that.
We've got Dr. Awura, of course, who runs, by the way, all the comment sections on my YouTube channel, saying his second income is from a side business, selling Apple accessories, iPhone, MacBook cases, AirPod cases, chargers. Been doing it since 2013. And he's got an Instagram Maestro merchant. So yeah, that's again something that he's enjoying doing. So it can be something little which is creative, and you can get on and and have a bit of variety.
Can I just say something else as well? Like, obviously, maybe we've made it sound like it has to be something that you generate money from.
No, yeah.
And I don't make any money from the Dentist Who Invest page whatsoever. But I suppose trading is my side gig, so I guess that kind of balances that out for me.
Yeah.
But it's even just something from the point of view of giving yourself something outside of dentistry to have in your life. And I honestly think that before someone pointed this out to me, that maybe that others could benefit from this, everybody's got a hobby. Everybody's got something they do that they can create a community around. Or maybe there's not a community in your profession, such as dentists. And yeah, I just think that there's a lot of good that you can do by sharing what you already think is common knowledge or common sense.
Yeah, no, that's very true, because I mean, I do say, is there a way you can turn it into an income? But actually, until very, very recently, so you're talking almost 3 years where I wasn't even trying to monetize or do anything like that. And I had people ask, well, can you do a shout out for this in exchange for, £50 or whatever it might be? And I'd always turn them down because I didn't want to be the guy who was always plugging some random crap that I've never used. And at the same time, so then I think it's one of those things. You've got to find that right balance. Again, all we're talking about here is finding a good balance within life. So yeah, that's I think that's a really key point, really.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe you'll start out. Quite often, what happens with a lot of people who start out doing things of that nature is that at some point you might be able to say to the community of people that you've created that really, I'd like to continue helping me. It's got to a point now where it's difficult to sustain unless there is maybe I'm generating some come from it, and then it just kind of it organically becomes something rather than you setting out with that intention. So that's also possible. I think that it's even from the point of view of not just generating this, making a group or something like that to generate publicity for yourself. It's from the point of view that others can benefit from
Yeah,
it too.
yeah.
And this was just a mindset shift to me. It's actually, yeah, from a business course that I'm doing that made me sort of think these thoughts and sort of flip things on its head. And it's weird how life kind of pans out, because if I didn't have this, I wouldn't be doing very much right now, to be honest with you.
Oh
So
God,
it
what would
came
I be
along at a
doing?
good time for me.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
well, there you go. Yeah, we're in the same boat, really, aren't we?
Yeah, because I mean,
Yeah,
the last time I
definitely.
saw a patient was what, February, March.
Whoa, yeah.
Mm.
What's the game plan for you then? Is it just whenever Corona blows over, whenever we get a vaccine?
Corona blows over. I mean, I did interview for a job in Brighouse not so long ago. Um, I'm
Hmm.
I'm relatively happy probably to go back as long as it's the job that I want. As long as the cases aren't going mental, which unfortunately they are. So I'm probably going to wait till this second wave just does one. So
Yeah.
probably after Christmas, I think, and which will give me a good amount of time to hit the gym and get and kind of rectify all of the effects of finals, which they definitely left a mark on my body. So I'm trying to undo all of that negativity. Um,
Oh well, you got
yeah,
lots of spare time. Maybe that's a bad thing actually, lots of spare time, because then you can like eat too
yeah,
much and stuff as well. Yeah,
yeah.
that's the downside.
You got to be pretty on
Over
top of it.
lockdown, I, I never got, honestly, I didn't feel like I was eating that much, but I was 15 and a half stone, and I've never weighed more than 14 in my whole life. Okay,
For
just to put that into context.
how tall are you?
6'1". So I wasn't.
Trying to work that what
You
that is in
couldn't.
pounds. Hold on, let me get in the
It's 200 and, let me do the math. 200 and, what did I say? 15 and a half
15 and a
stone
half.
or 15 stone? 15 and a half. 217
It's
pounds.
pretty chunky, man. Pretty strong. Thick triple C.
Yeah. Tell it how it is. Tell it how it is.
But it's
Yeah.
probably
No,
not
I
too bad for
deserve that.
6'1". For 6'1", that's not too bad.
Yeah, well, I did. I have to admit, I did get a bit too big because I just wasn't really doing any
Mm,
exercise. And then as soon as I weighed 15 and that much, I thought, okay, James, it's time to reel it in. Before you can kind of laugh it off, but it's getting pretty bad now.
yeah,
So you need to do something about it. So that was the point where I said, okay, enough's enough. It was peanuts. Peanuts did it to me. Do you know how much calories are in those
yeah.
things?
See, I actually, when I was on a strong bulk back in uni, we got powdered almonds. So they were shelled, so the skin's been taken off,
Yeah.
and then they were powdered. And then I would make biscuits with these powdered almonds because after you put all the bits in to make it, the egg and stuff like that, it was 6 calories per gram.
Whoa. Yeah.
Monstrous. And
Yeah.
I'm only 5'8" or something, 5'8" and a bit or something like that. So I needed I was struggling. I was a struggle to get food down me to actually put enough in. So I was eating these with some milk to soften them up because they were really stodgy. And my housemate at the time, I went away, went back home, and then there was a big tin of them, must have been a half kilo at least. And I came back and she'd eaten all of them, and I was like, "Do you know how much was in that? Oh God,
People don't get it as well, because
yeah."
I'm going to say those are probably really
Oh, no,
expensive.
no, I wasn't asked
Bodybuilding
about the money.
supplements
I
are.
was like, that was a lot of calories.
Oh,
You
right.
did not realize how monstrously high calorie that in was. Yeah,
Oh dear. Okay. Well, she probably made some good gains at the gym anyway.
yeah.
I'm gonna guess.
Oh,
I
Suleiman
don't know.
says if I had a decent secondary income, he would consider cutting down or leaving dentistry and entering the charity sector. Yeah. which is it's
That's
fulfilling. Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Suleiman, do you have a interest or a hobby or something that you could blossom into a secondary income? That's my question to you.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear your answer.
Because it is really,
Because
really fulfilling. Because I mean, this is again before you were aware of my page. We did a 24-hour podcast, so I sat in this chair for full 24 hours,
what?
and I had three
What?
guests, and it was a rolling guest the whole 24 hours. And yeah, it was mental. But we did it for Refugee Crisis
Oh my
Foundation. That
goodness.
was
Oh,
insanity,
okay, right. Yeah.
insanity.
Yeah.
I think we ended up doing 25 and a half hours live on air. Uh, and yeah, that again, that was something that, you were happy to do because, it's for a charity, it's for a good cause. We got all these different people together to have different conversations, the whole way through 24 hours. The guests came on and kept it interesting for me to stay awake and stuff. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say, what was you have a reason behind it, but I was gonna say, was that like what was the purpose there before you told me that? Was it like self-flagellation? Was it like I don't know, self-enforced torture? But if it's for a
yeah,
charity,
yeah,
there's a good reason, so I get that now. Yeah, fair enough.
yeah,
I actually feel like podcast for me, or maybe this whole dimension of media that I just have no awareness of, that because I don't really listen to podcasts, and maybe now that I've actually realized that over this last few weeks that it is quite a common thing that people enjoy, and I've kind of got into them myself, and I do. It's quite nice. You can kind of just tune out. You're in the gym, you're doing whatever, and you can just put a podcast on, and it's actually a really nice way of consuming media that I'd never really had an awareness
yeah.
of. And I think all of this has definitely inspired me to think about one for my group as well.
Yeah, and I always like to say that if you're listening to music in the gym, you're cheating because it's yeah.
Really?
If it's a crutch, you should be able to do it in silence, or listening to someone talk about something very complicated is way better than
Yeah.
trying to do it to the beat or something. You're just fighting the weight, and I think you get a better
I've got the same hip hop podcast. Oh, sorry, a
playlist.
hip hop Apple Music playlist. Yeah, I made this when it was 16. I still listen to it, and I haven't changed one song on it. So
Mm,
I think it might be a time for
that's your
change.
crutch.
It might be the time for change. 13 years of the same playlist. Maybe it's time to I don't know, think about something new because I'm 29 now. So yeah, podcast might be the way
Yeah,
forwards
I
for
mean
me.
there's podcasts for everything. Literally podcasts for everything. If you're interested in something, there's
Yeah.
definitely something out there for people. I mean, Joe Rogan's great for me because I like to know a little bit about everything. Like if I'm going to talk to you, I want to know a little bit about investing, and I've done a bit myself. We should probably get back on track actually, but I've done a bit myself. So I do know a little bit about technical indicators. I do know about markets. I've done a little bit of forex. I've done a bit of day trading. I've done a bit of crypto. Uh,
Cool.
so
Yeah,
I kind of
nice.
have an overview of everything. But you've
Nice.
obviously read books. I've not read books. I've just watched a YouTube video and then gone for it, and then you know done it that way. And
Yeah,
Joe Rogan, for example, is the one that I like because he'll have someone who's an expert in some field one day, and then it'll be some guy who's just talking nonsense the next day. Alex Jones, or it'll be
Alex Jones.
that podcast. By the way, guys, it's incredible. 4.5 hours of insanity, absolute insanity. Yeah,
Yeah. If you want to kind of yeah, he's just got like every crazy opinion that is possible to have just rolled into one man. He doesn't only have maybe one or two conspiracy theories. Nothing is real to this man, and he's actually a politician as well. Well, okay, he's not a politician, but he's got quite close links to lots of politicians in the Republican Party, and it's just a bit crazy what you can do and say in America and still be affiliated with people of that tier of society. Like over here, he would be, well, he wouldn't be welcome in those sorts of circles by any stretch of the imagination. He
well,
wouldn't be welcome
not
in many
not
circles.
openly, maybe behind closed doors.
Maybe not openly, but yeah, okay, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So they're openly say that they're friends with this guy, and he's just a lunatic. But yeah, there's a Piers Morgan Alex Jones interview. Have you seen that?
No, I mean that would be two people that I just about tolerated Alex Jones on the Rogan one. Um,
It might be too much
Piers
then.
Morgan
Yeah,
is an Arsenal
yeah.
fan, and a bit of a moron as well. So that would be just too much for me, man.
I shouldn't show you these then. I shouldn't show you this thing, should I?
I did wonder whether you had an O2 contract that you were trying to kind of look.
No, this podcast has no affiliations to O2. This is my Henri pillow.
I do like Henri, to be
Henri
fair.
pillow.
No, but he's what right. There's some like fans who are good, and you can get some sensible information out of them. Then there's the guys who are insane and just completely. There's like you debunk one insane thing they say, and then they just come out with something even worse. Just like, okay, God, yeah. Oh,
I think those are the people you just have to pretend you agree with, really, when it gets to that level, doesn't it? You have to just nod their head and then kind of move along.
Yeah.
When it gets to that level of insanity.
That's the thing. Suleiman says, I have an interest in trusteeship, how to register a charity and governance. Very dry subject. If you're interested, I can get you in touch with the guys who run RCF, because I've obviously got good links with those guys now. If you want to find out more about that, it might be even something that you can get involved with there, because I'm sure they're always looking for people who can help, because they're completely volunteer run. So if you want to find out a bit more about that, drop me a message, Suleiman. And then TJ, I've had on the podcast about 3 weeks ago. He's got his own podcast as well. So yeah, he's very good as well. Needs to get better at taking dental photos though of you doing some stuff, because the one that you sent me, TJ, was a little bit not the highest quality, and you were like looking.
I feel your pain on that one, TJ. I feel your pain on that one. I'm not a natural with the camera.
No, it's the ones where you're posing with like the stuff.
And right.
Because I needed some promo. And we had loads of nice pictures from galas and stuff that TJ had been to, and the one that he sent me of in the chair, it was pretty hilarious. It's like there were worse ones that I deleted, so I'm sure we'll get there with you, man. Just a bit more practice.
I was gonna say something else. It was on the topic of dentistry. Oh yeah, do you know Tony Robbins? You've heard of Tony Robbins, right?
Again, I've heard the name. I don't know much about.
Yeah, so he's kind of in America. He's kind of like a motivational coach, but he's huge. He's like celebrity stardom, like Hollywood, like red carpets, all that. But he's reached the very zenith of fame through this quite unconventional approach, in that he's a lifestyle coach. So he'll go and he'll maybe have 100 people in a room, and they'll all pay, I don't know, $1,000 to be there, because he's just so powerful and good at what he does, and people just really believe in him. And to be fair to him, he's really insightful, and he has so many contacts in so many different businesses that he's able to help a lot of these people. Yeah. But he's actually somebody that a lot of people have came to me through the creation, throughout the kind of getting to know people from my group, and they said, oh yeah, I read Tony Robbins' book on investing, and this is how I got into investing. So apparently he's a big deal in the investing world as well.
He's got. I just googled him. He's got a huge jaw. So that's all I know about him right now. You may well be right there. You may well be right there. Should we get back into the investing chat, because that's what the guys are here for?
Sorry, guys. Sorry, everybody. This will be worth the wait.
Yeah,
probably.
Right.
Maybe. So I don't know.
You've obviously got your ISAs as well. So are you someone who's into your ISA?
Yeah. So in the UK, we have these two amazing accounts that I think a lot of the world would be really grateful for. One is a SIP, so a self-invested personal pension, and the other one are ISAs. So there's different types of ISAs. So there's Help to Buy ISA, there's a LISA, there is a cash ISA, which is supposed to give you good interest, but interest rates are just so bad at the minute. It's horrendous. And then there's also a stocks and shares ISA. So in any one of those ISAs, you've got 20 grand that you can put in cumulative. So you can have 5 grand in a cash ISA, 5 grand in a LISA, 5 grand in a whatever, any one of those ones that I named there. And the stocks and shares one, the huge benefit of it is, versus a SIP, which is another conventional way of both you can buy shares in. A SIP you can buy shares in. Cash ISA you can buy stocks and shares ISA you can buy shares in. You can do them both. With the SIP, you can only take your money out when you're 55. So, however, with the SIP, the government will deduct money from your paycheck will deduct from your tax bill as to what you put in.
Okay, so you get a bit of tax benefit there.
But you pay tax when it comes out.
Right.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense? You pay the tax on what you would have earned coming out. Whereas a stocks and shares ISA, you pay tax before it goes in. But that 20 grand, you can, when you take that money back out, you get no tax on that
Yeah,
whatsoever.
and you've got a 20 grand
And
limit per year, don't you? You can put 20 grand in each year into your stocks and share.
on the stocks and shares, yeah. On this SIP, I'll need to check that actually. I'm not sure if there's a limit.
I'm not sure on the SIP.
I wonder if any. Yeah, I wonder if can anybody in the comments tell us that. But I'm not sure what the limit on the SIP is. It probably is 20 grand. Let's have a look at
Just
that.
drops it in the lifetime allowance. You can save in your SIP or other pension over your lifetime. Allowance is currently 1.0731 million. You'll pay tax on any pension savings you make in excess of this. Excess is taxed at 25% plus income tax as income or 55% of the lump sum.
Yeah. Okay, normally you can. Apparently you can put up to 40 grand in a SIP every year.
Oh, so the yearly is 40 up to 1 million. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
Because they could tax it, that's why they're trying to get the extra tax on the other end, aren't they?
Yeah, maybe. But it's the flexibility is the big thing for me.
Yeah.
Because it could, if you invest a lot and you invest it well, you could easily be at home and dry before you're 55. In which case, you want to cash in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I prefer them. That's why I prefer a stocks and shares.
No, I'm in the same kind of boat there. I definitely prefer the stocks and share ISA. I like the fact that you can have all the flexibility of where you put it, whether you put it into stocks and share, literally stocks, or you put it into different managed funds. There's some good funds out there. And
with Hargreaves, I don't know who you're with,
HL,
but with Hargreaves Lansdowne, you can actually buy crypto with it.
Oh, can you? I've not seen that yet. No, I haven't seen
that. You don't actually directly own the crypto. You buy index funds related to crypto. However, that might be changing because I don't know if this affects that arrangement, but the government recently banned something called contracts for differences, which are when you own crypto through a third party.
Right.
So the reason they banned them is, I don't know if anybody's heard of margin trading.
Yep.
Or have you heard? Yeah, so you could do that with crypto, and the leverage that you can put on is silly. You can put on 125 times leverage, which means for every dollar you bet, you borrow $125, which is just insanity. You can't go bankrupt, but you can blow your account.
Yeah.
You can only go bankrupt if you borrow money to do it, which they actually do make it very easy to do on these exchanges. So it's effectively gambling, and this is the point of view from which they've banned it for. So they've banned these things called contracts for differences. You can buy crypto on Hargreaves and Lansdowne right now.
That may be
you
changing.
Don't actually own the crypto, so this new rule may apply to that. I don't actually know.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting one. Yeah, that is an interesting one.
No, I didn't actually know you could buy crypto on there. I had a separate Coinbase account for a little bit that I had.
Yeah, Coinbase isn't bad. The fees are quite high on it, so it's 1.3%, I think, for a transaction. Whereas there's lots of, if you were to use one that I use, is called Kraken, and the fees are 0.15%.
Much lower.
So it's
10 times.
Much lower. Kraken is a really nice exchange actually, because it's now officially a bank in America.
Okay.
It's got bank status and it's never been hacked. It's really secure.
That's
But you can't buy a lot of coins on it though. You can only buy there's maybe only like 40 or 50 coins that you can buy on it.
Yeah, that is the thing, isn't it? And there are. Did you hear about Dentacoin? Just out of interest, that
no.
was a thing. I'm certain that was a thing. Let me just drop that on Google.
They just pull names out of hats for some of these coins, don't they?
Yeah, Dentacoin.
Yeah, here we go. The blockchain solution for the global dental industry. Oh wow, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah, I don't know why that came into my head, but I was just like, oh, I remember there's a dental one. I didn't really, but that exists. Again, not saying you should buy a dental coin because we're dentists, guys. Just it exists.
Yeah, be wary of that. Okay, that's news to me.
In terms of money management, what kind of percentage do you go? Do you know how much percent is in your stocks and shares ISA? How much percent is in your crypto? How much is in other assets?
So for me personally, you know the way we talked about the cash thing
Yeah.
earlier. So let's say we've got £100, which is spare. So I don't need this money. Okay, I have it and I want to keep it and I want to do something with it, but I don't need it to pay my bills during this month. So maybe 20-30% in cash, maybe like, let me just do the math quickly in my head. So like 60%.
I'll help you.
Yeah, like 60%. Yeah, 60%. Yeah, much better. 60% in maybe stock, maybe in my Hargreaves Lansdowne
Yeah.
account. Then I would definitely put like 20% in gold, and then whatever is, I think, well, like 15, and then maybe like 5 in crypto. But I don't buy crypto every month. I haven't put any money into crypto since the start of lockdown. I've just been trading what I already have and trying to grow that.
Okay.
So I wouldn't typically invest in it every month. There are ways that you can invest in crypto if you want to, buying in every month using something called dollar cost
Yeah.
averaging, which is when you contribute a little bit to it every month. And the idea is that you get an average, you average the price out of Bitcoin, and then that means that it's low. And then when there's a big bull market or when it goes up in value a lot, you'll have a good entry because you've averaged out your
Yeah.
entrance, and you'll be less susceptible to massive
Yeah,
volatility.
because if, for example, if it goes up, down, and then slowly goes up, and then whatever, if you all bought at the high point and then it dropped and then eventually went back up,
Yeah.
if instead you just did, I'm going to put 20%, 20%, 20% every couple of months, then your average would be much less than, for example, that you might have done. So you'd overall make more than if you'd all bought at that high point.
Yeah, so that's the theory behind that investment strategy, dollar cost averaging. Because it's really hard to time
Yeah,
the market. Even somebody who's an expert finds it very difficult to time the
yeah, yeah.
market. So that's one way you can do it. Makes it less susceptible to volatility, just like I
When do
said.
you? Yeah,
So yeah, sorry. All I was going to say is, yeah, that's my kind of breakdown. So I invest in stocks, bonds, gold, but I trade in crypto. So two
yeah.
different things.
Invest
Are you with
versus
me?
trade is a huge difference in terminology, and there's actually a tangible difference in what you're doing, because invest, guys, is, when you're buying something, you looked at the company, for example, you go, this is a solid company, I can see upside, I can see that they're doing well, not somebody dodgy running it, and yeah, there's a market for that particular product. For example, you're investing in the company as much as whatever the stock price is, and you think it's going to go higher or you're going to get a yield. Trading is more trying to, how do you
In the
explain
short
trading?
term, you're looking. So that what you said is true. So investing is buy and hold. You buy it and then you keep it for a very long
Mm,
time, and then maybe look to many years before you take your profit. And trading is you're actively buying and selling. So you're in and out of the market, maybe every few days, every few weeks, something like that, even intraday. So you might close all your trades before you go to bed. So you're a day
yeah,
trader and you're very much monitoring it at all times. Whereas certain people who invest, one method of investing is you just buy and forget, and then you look at it in many years' times. And because you accept that generally, in all likelihood, that the specific thing that you've bought will increase in value, that you think about only touching it as a pension, maybe many years
yeah.
down the line.
Yeah, that
So,
that that makes
yeah.
sense. And obviously, if you're looking at that particular time, do you look at growth stocks or do you look at things which are going to give you a dividend?
So I just buy index funds. So I'll just buy like the
Mm.
SPY. So that's the stock version of the
Yeah,
SPX. So it'll be things of that nature. And when you buy an index fund, you do get some dividends, but it's not really what I'm looking at personally.
mm.
I actually got my portfolio. I made my portfolio from a book called The Gone Fishing Portfolio. So what I did was I just read the book. They've got this portfolio that some guy designed in the 90s, I think, and yeah, he's got like a PhD in, like, I don't know, investing. I don't even know what it
Yeah,
is, but he's very knowledgeable on the matter. If you kind of just copy his ideas, and you try to basically reflect the whole of the global economy. Because if you accept that the whole of the global economy goes up, generally speaking, on average by like 2-3% every year, so if you hijack that
Yeah.
increase, which is historically held true, then you can grow your money effectively by that 2 or 3%. So if you accept, first of all, that the global economy is going to grow, then you can take advantage of that by investing in this method, using this method. And then the second thing is that if you accept that inflation is real, and inflation is generally a lot higher than what they purport it to be in the media. So what, generally speaking, they'll say it's about 2 or 3%, something like that. But in actual reality, it's maybe more like 7 or 8%, or maybe even as high as 10 some years. Then you actively lose
The
quite a bit
value
of
of
the
your money.
value of
Yeah.
your money by leaving it in the bank account. So to me, that was the biggest thing that flipped my understanding of it on its head, because I said to myself, right, well, actually, there's a huge kick up the backside here to go and do something with this money, because not only am I'm actually protecting myself, or this is a defensive measure rather than an aggressive measure to invest some of my money or spread my risk.
Yeah. And
That
what
makes
do you mean
sense.
by defensive versus aggressive? Yeah, it all makes total sense to me because I mean we know
Yeah.
that dental wages have gone down uh when you account for inflation over the last 10 years, and that's one of the reasons that younger dentists are maybe struggling to, not struggling compared to, some people who are struggling to feed their children, stuff like that, but comparatively to guys 10 years ago who were making less and less.
Yeah. So it's definitely more of an impetus now. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And I think that, yeah, we've all felt the pinch. And I think the real fallout from coronavirus is yet to hit
Mm,
us. So because of that, there's money is that. I mean, if you even look at dentists, even before coronavirus came along, the dentists in the 80s and 70s, the money those guys used to get from the
wow.
NHS, they used to print money. Yeah, when they had fee per item on the NHS, it was crazy. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of Paul
Yep.
Tipton. So I'm doing his course at the minute, and he was one of his course days. He was saying that you would get free per item. The NHS just paid for the best dentistry that you could possibly get. So he would maybe do 3 gold crowns in a day,
Amazing.
and his taking for 1 gold crown would be like 300 quid. That was the profit,
Per
and that
crown.
was in the 80s per
Mm.
crown, and that was in the 80s. You know
And there
what I
was no
mean?
limit,
That
no
it
UDA
was.
going. You got to pay for your lab B within this 120 essentially pounds that you get and all that. So yeah, it must be mental.
Yeah, they used to print money, those guys. They made more than us in cash terms. So then, those guys would be making like over 100 grand. And this was in the
Mm.
80s when that was maybe worth like 2 or 300 nowadays. I don't even know. It was mental how well they used to do for
Yeah.
themselves. So there's been this ever increasing squeeze from that end of the spectrum, you know. And now we've got indemnity being what it is, coronavirus being what it is. There's all these reasons have just led to this massive pinch, and it's not. No one's ever going to say that you won't have a roof over your head, but it's definitely a lot more of a squeeze than it used to be, and it's nowhere near as lucrative. And the job has got way more
No, there's
challenging.
more things that you have to think about. There's like you say, indemnity can be a couple of grand once you get to, a couple of years in. If you're trying to do
Yeah,
something like a Tipton course, that's not cheap. I know it's not cheap. If you say, oh well, I can't see as much as I would like, do I want loops? Or if you're someone like me and this is what I did, I went ahead and got a microscope, and that's not cheap either. So yeah,
did
because
you?
I honestly I know I'm going to do endo if I continue with dentistry. So um,
Yeah,
I've nailed
cool.
myself to the mast on the endo side. So uh, yeah, it's one of those things you're relying on people having a passion for a certain thing, um, or the job to continue doing it. Because if I didn't have that passion, I would be going, okay, well, let me have us think again. Can I take videography and photography full time? And can I take a podcast full time? And I'm still thinking that. But
Yeah,
there, yeah,
I suppose you can always just sell them thing.
yeah, yeah.
If it doesn't work out, someone else will buy it's. I mean, I actually don't know anything about microscopes. is it something that's fitted or it's tailored to you?
No, they either come fitted into the room, and then yeah, you can change the eyepieces so it's dialed into your eyes, and then you can. But
Mm,
just imagine you going from looking just into a mirror to times 20
right.
in high def,
Well,
and you can.
yeah. I've I've heard that when you have a proper microscope for endo, you can see the like apical deltas through the. If you've got a really straight tooth, you can actually see where the kind of the channel splits and goes every which way, and you can clean it if you can get
Have
down
you?
there. Would you have you used it before?
It's well, I had it for 4 or 5 months before lockdown. Have you ever seen like a picture of an eclipse and you get the little ring around the moon or the sun or whatever it is? That's what it looks like when you're looking down a straight canal,
Okay.
and that's the end because
Oh,
yeah,
right. Yeah, I get
you
it.
get
Yeah,
vapor
yeah,
lock
yeah.
down the bottom of a
Wow.
canal, so you don't actually ever. Again, this is me being a complete nerd. You don't actually irrigate the very apical kind of couple of millimeters because of this weird
Yeah.
phenomenon called vapor lock, where there's nowhere for the
Mm.
vapor that liquid to go, so it just bounces back up. But because of that vapor, you get the is it the Van der Waals forces going around the side of the canal? You know how when in a beaker you get the little lip up,
That's really
and then that
interesting.
reflects your
Yeah, I
light.
didn't know
That
that.
reflects your light, so you see the little ring, which is basically the end of your canal.
Wow, I've learned something about dentistry today. There you go. That's really interesting. Cool,
Yeah,
cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I've never actually used them before. Someone's asked a question here.
yeah.
Mohammed has asked a question. Can you discuss the fundamentals of how you trade crypto? How can you maximize your chances of making sure you keep profits high and losses
Right, let's
low?
dive in on
There
this.
is quite a lot there to
Give me
flesh
some
out.
space. One sec.
Yeah, but let's talk about this. Yeah. Right. So what we'll do is we'll talk about the fundamentals first. So when you talk about the fundamentals of a stock or a crypto or anything, basically you're talking about the very key or the very basic, like the sort of build, like the company behind it. What are the key kind of features of this crypto that set it apart from other things that ensure that it likely has a
Yeah.
good future? So you can actually break. I've written an ebook recently and I sent it out. So that this is in the ebook actually. If you want to get in touch, Mohammed, at any stage, but there's 5 things that I use. So you've got the economy of the coin. So quite often, quite a lot of coins, what happens is they have quite high inflationary forces. So the block, again, we're gonna get quite technical here.
If anyone's
But
still stuck with us at
when,
this point, I think they're happy for us to go technical. Let's go down the rabbit hole. Yeah.
yeah, sorry guys. So again, when you talk about blockchain, it's a series of blocks linked together, and every time a block is created, some coins are
Mm.
released. All right. Depending on the structure and the order of that and how at what pace that happens, it for some coins, the more the blocks that are created, the more coins that get
Mm.
released. So there's more inflation as we go on. Okay. Or for some coins, there's less inflation. So those are the economics. So that's the first thing you want to consider. Then you've got the ecosystem. So is there a community around the coin? If the developers, for some reason, can't do something, if there's a strong community, then they can chip in and help. You've got expansion. Is there a good set of developers? Are they going to be able to progress the coin? Does the coin actually have a use case? Is this a crypto that realistically can be used going forwards by people to achieve something or do have a real
Can
life
I dive in
purpose?
there?
You'd be surprised that,
What
yeah,
kind of
go on.
things are people using coins for?
Quite a few things. So let's say a coin is an example of a coin that you can basically make your computer into a node.
Yep.
What that means is that you're linked to a network throughout the world in which you donate hard drive space on your computer.
Yep.
Okay. So if somebody else is linked to this network, they buy some SIA coin, they can use the hard drive space on your computer and they pay you in SIA coin.
Okay.
So that's one example. Then there's another one called Golem, which does that except with computing power. So it's kind of like a different concept on that one. Then you've got Bitcoin itself, which is a store of value. So it's not actually that good for using as an everyday currency because it can only handle seven transactions per
Right.
second. So Visa has something like 25,000 transactions per second, and that's why it can be an international credit card company. So because of blockchain structure and because the guy who created it wanted to limit it so that it meant that only every computer can use it rather than only very fast computers or rather than only computers with very good internet connection, he made it intentionally so that it's only 7
So
transactions per
it's
second.
kind of
Have you
like
heard?
when you're in school, you're limited to the almost the thickest guy or girl in the class.
Yeah. Or when you're out walking and you're doing your Duke of Edinburgh and there's someone slow behind, but you gotta keep that with them.
Yeah.
You gotta walk at the pace of the slowest man because if you only let the fast computers run it, the idea of blockchain is that every computer has to
Yeah.
agree. So the fast computers will be agreeing on one thing, the slow computers will be agreeing on another thing. It just makes a whole mess,
Right. Okay.
basically. Have you heard of Ripple? Have you heard
The
of
coin,
Ripple?
or yeah, I've heard of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So their idea is that they want to switch, they want to flip the world remittance market on its head. Have you heard of Swift?
Yes, but again, I couldn't tell you what they do.
It's how people transfer money
Oh,
internationally.
the IBAN and the
And
bit codes and all that stuff.
yeah, I think
All that
is it?
stuff.
Yeah, I think it is actually. Yeah, but basically, if you're somebody who's working in another country and you want to send pounds to India, so you have to turn it into
Mm,
rupees. The conventional way of doing that is to go through this international remittance service called Swift. And this thing is so archaic. They made this thing in the 70s. People still have to manually approve each one of these
wow.
transactions. So Ripple, so it takes like a week, and the fees are really high. It seems like something that just shouldn't happen nowadays. This is how MoneyGram and Western Union
Started.
do
Yeah.
their business. Yeah, this is how they do their business. And if you've ever heard of, so yeah, what Ripple does is it's basically a blockchain solution to sorting that. So you transfer your money, you turn it into Ripple, and then Ripple turns into rupees. And because it's all automated and it's confirmed by millions of computers across the world rather than a physical human doing it, then that means that it's completely outsourced and the fees are way
Yeah. Yeah.
less, basically. So those are just a few
Yeah.
examples.
Cool.
But
Carry on. I just
anyway,
wanted
that
to
was
know
the
what kind of things they do, so people can understand what it
it can
mean when you say uh, real world solutions and stuff.
those are 4 examples of things that are happening right now. But really, the power of blockchain and what makes it really interesting is every single third party in the world. So any person that's needed to confirm another transaction, that can be shifted to millions of computers all over the world confirming it, and therefore just totally taking out the necessity for any person to be involved. And the cost savings and efficiency savings for that are just absolutely mental. So Uber, for example, Uber is a third party.
Yeah.
So if we could have some sort of blockchain solution where these drivers are paid via this blockchain and rather than another company, then there's like a huge potential for saving there. Anybody who's ever rented a house or bought a house, a landlord is a third party. So there's a potential to get rid of that. There's loads of things. But anyway, so we've got those three. So we've got economics, ecosystem, and expansion. Then there's also, you have to bear in mind what exchanges it's on. So if it's already on a best place to invest in gold in the
Yeah.
UK,
We'll
we'll
come
come
to
to
that,
that in
mate.
2 seconds.
Gurinder, don't worry.
Yeah. Where were we? So yeah, you've got the exchanges. So if a coin is on an exchange that doesn't have that much volume, if it suddenly gets listed on a big exchange, then it'll likely go up in
Right.
value a lot because a lot more people will be buying it. So if you're clever and you look at what exchanges it's on already, you can take advantage of that. And then the final thing is something called block explorers. So they're websites that you can go to that tell you who owns what cryptocurrency and how much the biggest wallets of that coin are holding. So if you monitor these websites for a crypto, you can see that if these wallets are increasing in terms of value and size, then you know that the big guys are buying these coins. And the only reason they'll ever do that is because they're the smart money, they're the market
Yeah.
makers. It's so that they can take advantage of this fact that there's a constricted supply and sell it later and generate profit. And you can just literally
Just
copy
ride the
them.
wave.
And then ride the wave right on the backs of the whales,
Yeah.
so to speak. and you can just take advantage of this fact and make yourself some money. But it's all about being savvy. So that's the fundamental side. And then what was the other part of the question? So those are the 5 things that you can use to assess the fundamentals of a coin. How can you minimize your chances? Okay, again, it's complex, but there are certain coins that you can analyze the chart and you know that the value is bouncing between an upper and lower value. So if you buy it when it's hit this lowest value, you set your sell order just below there, then you've risked a tiny amount of capital. And some of these coins have huge upside. If you look at their old chart and what their previous high was, so you literally risk maybe like 10% off your investment. So you risk, like, you invest $100, you set your stop loss so tight that it's $10 down.
So you would end
you
up with
risk
90
10,
if you lost.
and and with that, so you're really only risking $10. Okay. And the upside for these things is, like, historically they've been like 3 or 4 times that value. So there's a huge there's a huge R ratio there, risk versus reward. But that's just, those plays they still exist, but there's not loads of them at the minute, because recently things pumped quite a lot.
So you need things to settle back down to a regular rhythm, and you'll find them again.
Yeah, pretty much. But that's when I've just explained that, I am aware that that was quite ethereal and difficult to get your head around. So I'd really need to show you some charts to show you what I mean.
Have you got a chart in mind? But if you want, I'll throw it up for the guys.
There was one called, if you look at, there's one called ARC, actually, I was looking at the other day. ARC BT.
ARC BT. Okay.
If you type in ARC, ARK/BTC, and then you hit on Trading View.
Right, got it. Trading View.
And you zoom. Yeah, that's a good one, actually. On Trading View.
Okay, and what year? What kind of view am I looking at?
So if you zoom right out to the largest view time frame, if you go daily and then just zoom right out.
Daily, got it.
You can see. Can you see the way it's been bouncing around between some tiny little values down there? So, like, if you look at, say if you go to like 2020, the start of 2020, and it's been bouncing between.
I'm on year to date. Is that what I want? You reckon?
It's hard to technical difficulties, but suffice to say, if you look at the chart for ARC versus BTC, Mohammed, you'll see what I mean.
Yeah,
we're struggling here a little bit. We might share that with you later.
I'll throw that up.
Oh, can you get it?
Yeah, I'm just going to take a screenshot and then I can stick it on OBS to show the guys. I don't know if this is exactly what you were after, but you can definitely see before the pump occurred that there was a particular point where it was running between a couple of values repeatedly.
Can you see that it gets very it goes like this, doesn't it? And then it just kind of levels out like that. That's what I'm talking about.
So yeah, in the first half of this graph, guys, you can see there's a top part and a bottom part, top part and a bottom part. A few times it just jumps up and down between those two values. So that might be I think that's what James is looking at there. I may have got the wrong graph up there.
I can see what you mean. Yeah, I think you needed to just zoom out a little more, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
All right, well,
because I can see the part that zoomed in a little bit, you see. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So yeah, that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. So there's certain plays that you can limit yourself to, that they have very much good profitability, but very low risk. So those are the easiest trades in crypto. There's like 100 million ways you can make money in crypto. You've got lending, staking, airdrops. You've obviously got the actual trading itself. Then you've got holding it long term. You've got futures. But those, for anybody who wants to get into trading, those are quite nice plays to begin with, because they offer such clear invalidation if they don't work out, and it's just really obvious. So you can always limit yourself to those and see what happens just to get into it. Best place to buy gold. Gurinder, I can't speak for the best place, but I know one that's very good. There's one called Bullion Vault. It's got an app on your phone. If you buy the gold, they'll hold it for you for 0.15% of your holdings every year.
That's not too bad, yeah.
I think that's similar to index funds. Yeah. They're in and around that. Or you can get the gold posted to your house as well if you've got a safe. But they'll store it for you. They actually let you pick where you store the gold. So you can store it in a safe in Singapore. There's one in London. There's one in Zurich. Just wherever you think is safest.
Yeah.
Which is quite fun. Yeah, and you can buy the gold, and it gets delivered to your house. It's definitely worth getting it delivered, in my opinion, because they charge you 0.15% a year, I think.
Unless you live in Liverpool, in which case get it in the vault.
Don't bother if you're out there in Liverpool. But they also charge you, I think it's something like €4 a month. But if you've got big holdings, that's not really that much. I think it's best to get it delivered, really, because you just save yourself on these issues. Yeah. But Bullion Vault is the one that I use.
Yeah, and
if you guys are interested.
One thing I was going to maybe comment about your profit loss, kind of how to make sure your losses are low on each particular trades. So let's say we have £1,000 in an account. What percentage are you risking on each trade?
Never more than 2%.
Because that's something that people get wrong, I think, quite commonly early doors, where they'll bang in half their account on a trade, and if you lose 10%, like we say, if it goes south, then you've lost 10% of half of your account, as opposed to 10% of 2% of your account.
So I should elaborate on what I said earlier. So let's say we've got 1,000, okay, and of that 1,000, we use 100 to buy a coin, okay. I can still risk $20 of that 100 because it's only 2% of my overall 1,000. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me, but I kind of know.
Yeah, hopefully that makes sense to other people. Yeah. So it's 2% of your total value of your account rather than 2% of the money that you've invested. Because otherwise there's not really, it's very difficult to have a trade which 2% of $2 out of 100 is a very tight stop loss. So it'll probably just blow itself out, basically. So that's how I do it anyway.
There's again so many ways to run this kind of thing. You've just got to have a system.
I actually think the biggest thing that made me definitely a lot more successful at it was psychology. And if you have a system that you stick to and you execute it ruthlessly, you just execute it to the letter every single time.
Yeah.
Then you take the whole psychological element out of it, and you're not going to be someone who is looking at a chart and getting nervous and selling whenever something takes a downturn. Because if every trade should have 4 things, okay? So you should predefine how much you're going to put in. So let's say you've got 1,000, you predefine you're going to put in 100. You decide on what your entry is. So you analyze the chart. Maybe you put a buy order in that is not going to get filled for a week or 2.
Right.
Okay. You buy that. That's your buy order. That's your trade entry. Then you have a stop loss. So that's how much you're going to risk. So that's when I was talking about the $20 thing. Maybe your stop loss is like, if you buy something at 100, your stop loss is at 80. So what that means is that gets triggered if the price hits 80.
And then you're out of the trade.
Okay.
So you've lost your money, and then you're not going to lose more. Yeah.
Exactly. You've lost $20. And for the love of God, please do not move around your stop losses. When you see it going against you and you try a little bit more space, just let it go. At that stage, it's over. And I've done that a million times. And that's such a stupid thing to do because you wind up losing more than you originally planned. And then also, before I enter any trade, I've got a little book. I write it down in the book and I say, I'm going to take 30% out when it hits this value. I'm going to take 30% out when it hits this value. So at least you're taking some profit and you're paying yourself, you know, because the number of times I've clinged on and I've got greedy. And if a crypto goes to 2 or 3 times, what's the likelihood it's going to go to 2 or 3 times again? It's probably not going to happen.
It's going to fly back down.
Yeah, exactly. So take something out, pay yourself for your hard work, and don't keep clinging on. And when you learn those things, I read a book on trading, a few books on trading really that I picked this stuff up from. One book in particular that I read that I just became more profitable overnight because it just taught me to look at things objectively rather than being at the whims of my like psychology or my emotions, basically. And as well as that, I think it helps a lot if you can analyze a chart, because if you can analyze a chart, then you'll be able to discern where to place these orders or where to place your stop loss, where to place your trade entry, things like that. And it just gives you that more confidence to not second guess yourself. The best book I read on this thing, it was such a good book.
Technical Analysis of the Financial Markets by John Murphy.
And it's an absolute whopper, but my God, you don't know how to trade until you've
read something.
You
like
really, yeah, it's just it completely it removes all the kind of guesswork for it, and it elucidates all this potential for you to be panicked and for you to become scared because you don't know what's happening. Because if you know what's going on, then you're that much more clearer. And yeah, well, it just removes emotions as a factor from the thing.
Because
but that's not to say I don't always get it right. You know, far from it. Nobody does. But it's about being objective, and when you're objective, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I was going to say it's one of those things that you see, you know, even the most successful traders out there, their percentage isn't particularly high. You might think, oh yeah, successful trader, 90% of the time they're right. It's more like 55, 60%. But the wins, they let them ride 3-4 times what they'll allow a loss to go to. And that means overall you're up 2 times as opposed, you know, you're making that much of a difference.
People who trade futures, people who trade commodities, good futures traders win 40% of the time. Okay, but they don't let the other 60% get to them. They just keep executing the same plan. And when you do that, you're the casino and you're the person who's got the edge. So if someone comes to play blackjack, you know the house always wins. So you want to be the guy who's dealing rather than the guy who's playing blackjack. Because if you're the dealer, if you execute it flawlessly, then you know that you'll win more than the person who's playing. So therefore, you'll be in profit. You just have to, you'll go on a losing streak sometimes, but you just have to keep going and just keep doing the same old thing. It's just about finding a strategy that works.
Yeah. I think that's the key, isn't it? You don't want to get to a point where you become emotional and you stray from the rules that you've set out, and then you're essentially gambling because you haven't got a plan, you haven't got something to fall back on why you did certain things.
Yeah, I'm just going to ask Mohammed if that helped. I think that answered his question. It's quite a technical answer.
Yeah, let us know if there's any more questions, guys. I mean, James has got a absolute goldmine of knowledge and information, so I'm learning loads from him. So keep the questions coming. We'll hopefully get through a few more before we start to wrap up.
Wow, it's 10:30.
Oh wow, is it?
But I can keep going. Yeah, man. I can keep going though. I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, I put the informal midnight, didn't I, as the finish time.
Yeah, that's the ultimate the ultimate challenge if we can make it that far. But we'll see about that one.
So I doubt we'll get there because I probably do need to eat something. You spoke
Fair
about
enough.
going back. I mean, is that kind of a lot of your thoughts on crypto? Or do you think you've kind of ticked off crypto in your mind there?
Definitely not. There's always more to learn. There's always more to learn. And when I go on Twitter, a lot of people, what people do on Twitter is they post crap that makes them sound intelligent, but it's really just nonsense, honestly. Like people who've just a book, there's different ways of analyzing coins. And I think a lot of people focus too much on the charts and a specific pattern that's playing out. And they think that this is the be all and end all. And this is going to make the coin, there'll be a breakout or the price is going to go up because of their chart analysis. And the number of times you'll see that they'll post something and then just delete it if they get it wrong. And if it works out right, then they'll comment on it again and
they'll retweet
just to talk it up, basically.
What did I tell you guys?
Yeah, exactly. And they'll only pick their wins. And the amount of junk on there, honestly, and the problem is that these guys have a lot of traction, and people will actually follow their trades, just fumbling around in the dark. And I am by no means someone who has got this nailed or knows everything about it, but I'd like to think that maybe I've picked a few things up, and I have been able to trade it to a point now where I'm profitable. All right. And yeah, it's just through, do I make enough that I can like live on it? Am I a hot shot? Am I a high roller? Absolutely not. But I think it's fun. It's mainly just as a
Yeah.
hobby, and I enjoy it. And I find crypto interesting as well. And I think that the difference between, Mohammed's just got back to this. I think that it's just the difference between knowing what you're doing and fumbling around in the dark is just spending some time to educate yourself.
Yeah, no, true. I'm just reading the comment.
Smashing.
Definitely. So Mohammed's saying, definitely did. Thank you. What resource would you recommend for someone looking to get into trading other than the book you showed us? We'll go with that one first.
Okay. So yeah, to get into trading, I have only ever read books that are specifically orientated towards crypto
Yeah,
trading. To get into general trading, I actually have got I did get a book recently, which apparently is very good, but I haven't read it.
Trade Your Way to
Trade Your
Financial
Way to
Freedom.
Financial Freedom. So this is a general trading book. I've only ever read books on crypto trading. So I can give you some good books on crypto trading if you like, but this one may be good. I've heard good things about it. Um, what you should read is you should actually read this book. Oh, where is it? It might be. I might have left it up. Oh, here it is. Best book for crypto trading I ever read: An Altcoin Trader's Handbook by Nick
Cool.
Patel. That's definitely where you want to start if you want to get into crypto. That's my favorite out of the ones that I've read. And then your other question, why did I get into crypto? I just found it interesting. And then going back to what I was saying about specializing earlier, I just think it's important to pick one thing and just get good at it
Mm,
if you want it to be profitable. So I kind of started out going down that path or that journey just because like I say, I just find it fun, and I'd read about Bitcoin, and I knew that it went up and down in value a lot, and I wanted to learn more. And then I just kept rolling with it. But if I could go back and talk to myself again, I would probably say to myself to have a real think about getting into Forex instead of crypto,
yeah.
because Forex is
Very
really nice
repeatable
because you can.
Forex, I think.
Yes, yes. It just repeat. It's the same patterns. It's because it's currency, and apparently banks manipulate it, that the same things just happen over and over. And you can trade it really reliably to make profit if you
Mm,
know what you're doing. It's the most reliable out of probably any asset that I know of. Crypto is nice. Crypto is fun, but there's long periods of time where you have to not
and do
trade
nothing.
because the charts look really bad, and that's actually a skill in itself to stay away from it,
Mm.
because people are tempted to go in there and be active and do
Yeah,
something.
you feel like you need to be
And
working, don't you? You feel like you need to,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's that's the same. But I would say that apart from Forex, and even still Forex, you have to pick your days sometimes, from what I know of it. With other things, that's more of an issue, whereas Forex, that's less of a problem.
Mm,
But there's a really good, if you want to start learning about Forex, there's a really amazing YouTube channel called Inner Circle Trading, which taught me most of what I know about it.
yeah.
And the stuff that I learned from him is stuff that I use in crypto as well. And it's a really, without going into too much detail, his comments on how markets move are quite unique. Um, I believe that they're quite accurate. They're more accurate than what you'll read in most
Yeah.
books.
Yeah.
So that's definitely
Does
something.
that answer your question, Mohammed?
Hope
Hopefully we
so.
did there. And then the other part was, um, instead, yeah. So you just enjoyed it more than you like kind of looked at forex and stock and commodities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm probably more into stocks myself. I'm more of a buy and holder because I did try a bit of trading on kind of not quite pennies, but something slightly a little bit larger than pennies, small cap stuff in the US. But It's too risky. There was too much kind of you'll get it right one day and then complete
Yeah,
completely
I
opposite
think
the
with
next day.
the thing that's the thing with stocks, because there's just so much, there's so many companies, and there's so much to learn. Like, the information is
Yeah.
just limitless. Whereas with crypto, it is quite a lot like that. But there's much less coins that you have to generally
Mm,
follow. So it's more simplistic from that point of view. Because, yeah, there's quite a lot of coins, and yeah, you can read into them a lot, but there's less coins than there are total number
yeah,
of
sure.
companies in the world by an absolute long shot. You know what I
Any
mean?
companies that you
So
like
that's
in
a
in terms of actual stocks?
Do you know what? I actually don't really follow stocks, so I don't really, apart from the index
Mm,
funds that I talked about earlier, as to individual stocks, I really honestly don't know the first thing. And I've deliberately, I suppose, kind of kept it that way, because I feel like as soon as I start learning about that, that's just
they'll
another
take
black
over.
hole to throw
Yeah.
my
I
time.
mean, I've got
Yeah,
maybe a couple of stocks that I look at, and the amount of information out there is mind blowing.
yeah,
And if you're someone who is new coming into it, and there's people who are for something, there's people who are against the stock, you just be like, well, I don't know who's right and who's wrong. It is pretty crazy.
yeah. That comes back to, actually, I read a really interesting point in a book along those lines once, and it was a book on psychology in
Mm,
trading. And the guy was just making the point that he thinks that a lot of people go into trading and investing, and they think that, okay, if I learn as much as I can, then I'll be okay. But there's so much information, and there's so many things that are unknowns that cause the market to go
yeah,
up and down, that there is this level that you can hit where it just means, a level that there's no point in putting any more effort in learning things in. There's like the very fundamentals of what you should know, and then after that, because there's such a vast quantity of information out there, there's no point in going any further. And at that point, you're investing, but you're just being really regimented, and you're being really structured in your approach. And that's the difference. It's 50% knowledge, but it's 50%
yeah.
psychology. And that's the people that people don't get, that this part is so important. And they think that they can compensate for that part by just learning and learning and learning and learning. And it's not really the case, according to this guy that I've read.
Yeah, it is crazy, and there's a whole sort of especially with large stocks like Tesla, for example, which is one of the ones that I'm holding. Um, it's something that you get these people who have bet a lot of money that it's going to go down because they don't believe in what they're doing, or something along those lines, or they have a bone to pick, or they got other interests within different companies, and they would rather see something tank. That you can actually get this weird situation where people are making stuff up on one side and making stuff up on the other side that's just completely false. So it's very difficult to actually work out what's true at the end of the day. So you do have to be
Yeah,
careful.
there's an upper limit. There's an upper limit as to how much time you want to
Mm,
spend just reading about things, and you just it's inevitably, even if you know everything about a company, it's still an odds
yeah,
game. You're just trying to maximize your odds, but even if you've got something that looks by all means like the absolute perfect investment, you never want to go all in. You still want to execute your plan and stick to the same rules. So flexible in your expectations, but rigid in your
yeah.
rules, I think is the exact quote that I read.
Perfect. Mohammed's come back with another comment as well. What
Oh,
kind of
brilliant.
income? What kind of income can someone, uh, to a guarantee to an extent with trading? In your opinion, I mean, this obviously depends very heavily on how much money you have to
Yeah,
fund an account with to
totally.
start with.
Yeah, it totally depends on how much you have in the account. But let's say that you were someone who was offering, if you were a financial advisor
Which we are not, by the
and
way.
you
Just
offered, which we are not, in case you didn't mention, if you were a financial advisor and you said to someone, I can give you 10% on an investment every year, a lot of people would snap your
yeah,
hand off. Okay. So if you're generating that through your investing and trading, then that is quite an achievement, Mohammed. So it all depends on how much you want to be able to live on. So let's say you're a very frugal person and you have 100 grand and you expect to get 10% every year, and you can manage to live on 10 grand because of your circumstances a year, then that might be enough to keep you
Yeah.
happy. It's all about how much you can make because of your skills or talent, and also how much money you have, and then also how much you're prepared
What
to
your
live on,
lifestyle
basically.
dictates and all those kinds of things. Yeah.
Pretty much. Pretty
Did that answer your
much.
question, Mohammed? Obviously, there's more aggressive ways to go about things, and um, I think one particular fund which I've quite liked recently is some of the global tech ones. So if people are looking at maybe funds for their stocks and shares ISA, again, not financial advice, but maybe have a look at that. That's one that I've quite liked. Um,
I think a really interesting sector. I don't know a whole lot about stocks, but one that would make sense to me that would be very successful in future is biotech.
yeah,
So things like, how can I say, like genetically engineering plants to be more productive, crops to be more bountiful, removing genetic diseases from individuals. We're just at the point now where this is taking off, and this has got massive potential to change the world. I think, as well as that, in this era that we're moving into, where when we come out the other end of coronavirus, there was, am I speaking maybe just for myself, or am I speaking for everybody when I say that there was a certain amount of lethargy, or maybe we didn't really take these illnesses that appeared from time to time in other parts of the world as seriously as we could. There was like a malaise, we just didn't really care. So let's say
yeah.
SARS. SARS was a really, really deadly disease. Like SARS killed
Which
10% of
which
people
is
it came
really
into
really
touch.
weird actually, because you would rather have something that kills 10% because it doesn't have this chance to be infective.
Yeah. Well, that
Yeah.
was the trouble. That was the reason why SARS didn't reach
It's
the
it's why it failed
degree
and
of.
coronavirus has done really well, you know. They
Well,
improved.
coronavirus, we didn't. It was mental. Yeah, the viruses, they took it under their chin. They took it under their
They
wing, and
went
they
back
kind
to the
of they
drawing
got
board.
back
What
to
can
us
we
with
do
it.
better next time?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Thank you. Yeah, and coronavirus. The trouble with coronavirus is it probably was everywhere. It was probably quite widespread, maybe in about February time, before we even actually really paid attention to it.
Yeah.
I reckon, possibly.
We were seeing things on Facebook from January onwards, memes and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I went to America in Feb for a midwinter meeting, which is a dental conference, and they just said, "Have you been to China?" I was like, "No," and they're like, "Okay, carry on." There was no sort of like, there's nothing further than that.
Well, I mean, just as a small sort of tangent to what we're just talking about, my cousin over Christmas, she's known for being a bit of a
Right?
hypochondriac. So people don't really take her seriously when she says she's stricken with an illness or she's unwell. And it's like the boy who cried wolf, you know what I mean? And over Christmas, she had a illness, and she said she had this terrible flu and she was really unwell, and everybody was kind of listening but kind of half rolling their eyes, not really taking her that seriously. And then she said the kicker was, or the very end of once she'd finished explaining that she was really unwell, she said that, and the worst bit was, I'd lost my sense of taste and smell. And that's when everybody was like, oh, okay, yeah, pull the other one. Yeah, that's when everybody was just officially stopped
Yeah.
listening to her, like stopped taking her seriously at all. And then now we look back on that, in hindsight, there was a good chance she probably had coronavirus. And that was in Ireland before
Mm.
Christmas. Okay. So there was a good chance this could have been quite widespread and we just didn't know about it.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to say because it could have also been some form of the standard flu. Who
Well, true.
knows?
Well, I actually hadn't. Is that a normal symptom for the flu, that you lose your sense of taste and
Anyone
smell?
know? Because I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure at all. But it is one of those things because they are very similar in terms of um some of the symptoms, aren't they? Uh,
Yeah.
okay, he's
Mohammed's got back to us with another
should have
question.
made the question a bit clearer. What kind of annual yield can you expect to a high extent if you play things by the book with trading crypto?
It depends on what year you're buying in. So 2017, if we go back to when there was a massive bull run in the market, then quite a lot of people made a lot of money. But the year after, it was a lot more difficult to make money because there was a lot less opportunities to do so.
Yeah.
It's difficult to say, difficult to answer that one, Mohammed. But if we look back to the way things were in 2017, in terms of what the market cycle looked like, then it seems to be picking up again at the minute for crypto. So I think at the minute, I'm looking forward to what the next few months will bring.
Yeah, because we
Personally,
have all this uncertainty with the American election. We've still got coronavirus, and something like a crypto is seen as decentralized and all that kind of thing. So people maybe look at it the same way they look at gold. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
I actually think that it's possible that they could do in future, but the reason why that things become safe haven assets is because big into like there's me and you, and we're the guys and we're investing, and what we invest is small potatoes. All right.
Yeah.
Then you've got the small corporates, so you've got like investment funds and companies and stuff like that, and then you've got big banks like central banks,
Yeah.
and those guys have got billions and billions and billions behind them. So these guys blow us and the small corporates out of the water. So whenever these guys want somewhere safe to put their money, they'll put it in gold, all right, or they'll put it in bonds,
Right.
government bonds, right? So those are the things that cause these things to go up in value whenever there is uncertainty in the world or whenever there's some sort of crisis. So until me and you might kind of look at Bitcoin as a safe haven for our money, but until these big guys at the top look at Bitcoin in those terms, then it'll never get the same pumps
Right. So it's
as
not going to
what
fly up the
those.
same way.
It's I wouldn't quite say it's reached that level
No.
in terms of reputation as to what gold and bonds have, because they've been around for forever.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
with me?
Yeah.
But there's the potential that it could be in future, because Bitcoin is basically digital gold. Nobody can you can't create more Bitcoin. When somebody has it, it's yours. It can't, unless someone was to hack your computer or anything like that. They can't take it from you. It's stored, it's safe. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think that answers the question there. Muhammad, did that answer your question as well? Um, I think something
I
that
hope
might
so.
crop up more and more in the group as well is the idea of almost halal investing. I don't know if you know much about this.
I actually don't know personally, but I can recommend a very good website, which I will just look on the group that someone sent to me, and I posted it on the group, and it's called something like. Let me just see if I can find it. But I believe I don't know if anybody knows anything about this, but am I right in saying that there's uh, interest is
Yeah, so
something
it's
that's
interest and it's
it
gambling. So we wouldn't be able to do anything
right?
which is, for example, um, I wouldn't be able to buy shares in a bank because they heavily deal in interest and giving loans to people and then making money off of interest, if that makes sense. Whereas something like
Interesting.
I don't know, Apple, who make phones, that would be fine because their business model is selling phones to you and selling software.
That's interesting. And what about putting your money in the bank? Because obviously they give you interest on your account. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
it's very
Or
difficult. See, what you tend to have to do is either ask for an interest-free account, so generally a current account.
right?
So I wouldn't have a savings
Yeah.
account. Instead, my money goes into things like the stocks and shares ISA, where I can then play around with it there. Um, but I know that if
Yeah.
people do have that particular account, you would work out how much money's been given to you in interest, and you just basically throw it off to charity. You're not supposed to use that money for yourself at all.
Oh, interesting. I actually didn't know that. Here we go. I had to scroll quite far back. IslamicFinanceGuru.com.
That's easy,
I'll
easy to
share
remember.
that. Yeah, to the point. The name is to the point. Let me just share that actually, if anybody's interested, because I can't remember who sent this to me, but it's all
Yeah.
free. as well, which
I
is
thought it
pretty
was something
cool.
interesting to point out because obviously I know there's a lot of kind of Asian guys who are within the group already. So I thought, it's something that's going to possibly crop up again and again. So you can get
Yeah.
ahead of the curve.
Yeah, IslamicFinanceGuru.com. So, and there was also another thing that somebody shared, and it was called Halal Invest Fest. So I think that's here it is, Halal Invest Fest. So I don't know if that's a YouTube channel. I'm going to share that too.
Right, sweet. We'll have a look at those.
Yeah. Oh, actually, sorry. I've just looked at this Halal Invest Fest video, and it turns out it's from Islamic Finance Guru, their YouTube
Okay, so they're
channel.
the same
So I'll
person.
tell you what, I'll just share same people. I'll just share I'll just share that as well because I'm sure a lot of people will find that useful.
Awesome. Yeah, these are I mean these are
There you
great.
go.
I can't see it on my screen actually, but it might be one of those we have to send afterwards again. Got a question from Ishita. Do you expect any upcoming elections or global events to impact the value of crypto? This is kind of running on from what we said about safe havens a little bit, isn't it?
Oh, good question. Good question. Thanks for
Bang
that,
on the
Ishita.
money.
Let Bang on the money. I like that. Ishita's my friend. Actually, I know her. So yeah, thanks for dropping
Yeah,
in.
appreciate you coming in.
What was I going to say? I think if you ask me personally, I think it depends on. I think we touched on this earlier, didn't we, Javier? But I think it depends on how well Trump takes possibly not getting in, and what he may do should that be the case. And there may be a strong case to argue that Trump might just say, actually, guys, I'm just going to run this. I'm going to spitefully run the country into the ground now and not agree a stimulus package and maybe unplug the bathtub on all the economic measures that
Maybe
we've taken.
throw the wire into the bathtub. That might be the
Maybe, yeah, he might just go completely nuts. I don't even know. But if he does that, since recently crypto has been quite linked to what the stock market does, so I expect that to have a negative effect on cryptocurrency if that
yeah.
is the case.
I wouldn't be
To answer your
surprised either
question.
way, to be honest. And again, like you say, he's very very unpredictable.
Erratic,
Yeah. So
unpredictable. But yeah, we don't want to alienate anybody who may be a Trump fan and watching, so we're gonna stop right there.
yeah. To be honest, normally I do just stick my foot in it and let the audience self-select for liking me.
I see. We'll be very PC
Yeah.
tonight. We'll be very
Let's
PC.
just say
But
there's no.
great question.
Go for it.
Great question, though, Ishida.
Yeah,
Thank you.
let's just say if there's any of
Thank
the
you.
guys who run NHS England, they're probably not going to be fans of mine from some of the things I've said. So
Let's hope they're not watching tonight. Let's hope
yeah,
they're not watching.
no, I've put
But
the foot in on. I've two-footed NHS UDAs quite a few times. So
oh dear. Okay. Well, hopefully this podcast thing works out for you then, I suppose, Javier. Ishida, does that answer your question? Does that answer your question? She'll
hopefully get back to us. Yeah, let me ask you a few questions. I mean, I think we've kind of covered a lot of really not difficult topics, but topics that take a lot to get your head around. So I'm going to swiftly change track here. You said that you kind of would maybe like to have your podcast of your own. Who are the first three guests you're going to get on? So your dream guests, let's just say, for some reason, whoever you ask says yes.
Oh wow! Anyone in the world? Okay, that is a great question. That is a really good question. Okay, I'll give you my off the cuff answers.
What we're here for. Nothing curated. There's been, by the way, guys.
This is real.
There's been
this is raw.
zero preparation for this, other than, hey mate, interesting group. Do you fancy coming on a podcast?
Yeah, that's the way we like it. We like the freestyle. Okay, somebody who I think is really cool. Barack Obama, straight away. Why didn't that come? That should have just rolled off the tongue for me. He is the first guy all the time. I don't know why I had to think about that so much. He's someone I'd love to meet. After that, I think everybody else might be secondary to Barack Obama. But I think Louis Theroux is super cool, actually.
Right, cool.
And bear in mind, this is my off the cuff 3. I think Michael Moore might be able to teach me a lot of
that floppy
things and
hair
would be
guy, isn't
really
he?
interested.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy, Fahrenheit 9/11, that dude, he's super interesting, man. He's so intelligent as well. But I think that if I sat and thought about it, I've actually picked quite a few political people there. Maybe there might be others that if I thought about it, but I definitely think those 3 guys would be cool.
Yeah.
Barack Obama, he's like way up here, number 1 straight away.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to hear these.
I think he's awesome.
I mean, it'd be interesting to hear whether they actually answer the question, because if you're gonna speak to someone like who's been in high end of government, you want to ask some really like questions that you're going to get some secrets out. You know, you want to be the next, almost like the podcast of WikiLeaks or something like those lines. You know, you want to get some secrets out into the world and some like mind blowing information. So you'd hope you'd be able to get some of the questions answered. But yeah, a good trio.
You could maybe ask him a few like loaded questions and things like that. I think something tells me that Barack Obama's probably dealt with a lot of that before, though. So I think he could probably see me coming a mile off.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. So maybe Trump's more of a. Maybe I should swap Barack Obama out for Trump. You could learn some real juicy details from slips of the tongue from Trump.
Yeah, because and also whatever he says, you assume the opposite. So.
Yeah, that's true. So did they didn't fake aliens at the Roswell landings, and then he would say the opposite, and then you could figure it out, right? Something like that.
Did Epstein kill himself?
Oh, that's an amazing question. I didn't think of that. He so got assassinated. I'm firmly in the camp that he got assassinated.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit weird, isn't it?
So obvious. And do you know what was weird about that? Why have they only just arrested Ghislaine Maxwell?
Well, they had to burn some evidence first.
No, but the series came out, right? And in the series, the whole premise was Ghislaine helped him, traffic these kids. And then the authorities, they seemed to think about it for a few months more before they actually.
Do you think it was like, can we get away with not doing anything?
I think, I actually do think it was partly that. But she's like, if she dies in prison, then come on, it's so rigged, isn't it? That's just way too suspicious for anybody to.
That's the
swallow
thing. And then like, I think it didn't go away. Like, what's that? Is it Andrew made the weird interview where it was just like, okay, I wasn't sure before, but now I'm convinced you're guilty. And I think it just kind of.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. After watching that documentary, I don't want to lead to conclusions, but I'm pretty certain he was involved quite significantly in that whole network. And that Jeffrey Epstein, he clearly knew a lot of powerful people who were involved with him and who were in that network of his. And this was the whole incentive for him to be assassinated. Apparently, they didn't have the security cameras on that one night. That one night they didn't have them on, and
sent the lens away
when they found him. Yes, it was something ridiculous. Honestly, the most clearly falsified excuse. And as well as that, his hyoid bone was broken, which apparently is characteristic of someone strangling
not
you.
Hanging, yeah.
Not hanging.
It's just saying.
It should have got back to us. I guess it might be time to invest in Russia.
I think it's with Trump and the elections. I think that's what she's hinting at there.
That's a good point. You can put all your money into Russia, Shaden. You let us know how that goes.
So you
okay.
and the guy who's going to put all his money into trading, not just the 30% or whatever, are going to come back on and tell us how it goes.
We're not going to win any Trump fans over with those answers. I'm a little bit offended, I have to be honest there. I thought we sat on the fence quite well. Didn't we, Chamber?
I don't think I did, but yeah.
Apart from all those horrible things that we said about Trump, but I actually did do my best to sit on the fence there. So I'm sorry if anybody's listening. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to come across like that to any Trump fans out there.
Yeah, and then what we were talking about. Yeah, it's interesting how people always go a lot of the time for. So I've asked this question a few times, and people always go, "Oh, I'll have Michelle Obama and like the Dalai Lama and I don't know Mary Nightingale or something. That's well, these are all the inspirational people. What about getting like some dirt out there? Which is why I kind of hit you in that direction. Like, let's have them. Let's have one of the McCanns on. Let's have like I don't know.
Oh, that's a good one. But the thing is, though, the only trouble is with getting someone like that on, they would never. I don't think you'd really get anywhere. You wouldn't really learn anything.
Yeah.
Now, if you could ask me, can I hook them up to like a lie detector or something like that, then that might change things a little bit.
Have you
You
seen
know
the
what I
YouTube
mean?
documentary on that? Oh, what's it
The
called? What's it
McCanns.
called? Um. Oh crap! I can't remember the name. I'm not gonna give away any secrets, but this is definitely one you want to watch and just dive into because it'll give you your own opinion, a different opinion on what's gone on. I'm just googling it now.
Yeah.
It's called. Has it been taken down? Right, I can't find it now. Embedded Confessions, I think it was called. So if you could find the video for that, it's a
Okay.
guy who's like he was previously a guy who would assess. So someone would do an interview with a suspected criminal or someone who's done something, and he would sit and watch the
Mm,
tape back, and by facial cues and hand gestures and body language would tell you what's gone down. And he
I
had a
see.
very
Yeah.
high success rate within the FBI. And he did this whole thing for one of their early
Wow.
interviews, which was interesting to say the least.
And right, I'm really intrigued now. So who does he reckon that is all lying to
The
us?
parents,
And oh
yeah,
really? Oh
yeah.
really? What is?
Oh
I
wow.
actually don't know that much about the supposed circumstances. Like, there's people who are way more informed on it than me. Like that Netflix documentary, I never actually got around to watching it. So why did they? What motive would
It's
they
really
have for
weird.
killing their
It's really
daughter?
weird. Like I
What
don't know what I
what
believe.
was it?
But that one definitely kind of gave me a second thing because I mean a lot long. It's very weird that it's this one case that's been stuck in the media for a long time, and you know there's so many different conspiracies around what's going on. Um,
Wasn't it that they accidentally gave her some medication or something? There was something like
yeah,
that.
someone said that, and then someone was like there was blood in the car or something according to a dog, or I don't know. It's all kinds of crazy things.
Yeah.
So who actually
Well,
knows? Who actually
actually,
knows?
something's just came back to me. Wasn't it that they wanted to go out and have a drink with their friends? So they gave
So
her
they
some
refeed her
sleeping
essentially,
pills.
and then
Yeah, something like that. But they give her way too much, and
mm,
that's the theory. But do you know what? On the flip side, though, do you know what's equally horrible to that? Imagine if they didn't do any of these
yeah,
things and they
and
just
there's
really,
innocent.
really.
Yeah,
And now, like, imagine being in their shoes and how persecuted you'd feel. So it's really a very delicate situation. It's really,
which is
really,
why I'm
really
trying.
delicate.
This is one of the things I am trying to sit on the fence with. I'm just saying maybe watch the documentary and see what you think.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. I'm not going to go out on a limb on that
This
one
one I
yet.
am sitting on the
On
fence. I mean, Trump is a different situation.
Yeah, no, I'm going to stay well out of that one. I don't want to make any enemies there.
Yeah,
I don't want to say anything that might alienate anybody because it is such a sticky one and there's so many potential possibilities. And you know what? As well as that, I'm not even informed on the
no,
matter as
I
well.
just
So I'm going to
really
stay
like
well clear
conspiracy
of that
theories.
one.
Not that I even believe half of them, but I just like hearing them. Like, I had a lady on last year, Jordan Menifee or John Verdon. I can't remember. One of them's her maiden name, one of them's a married name. But Jordan came on. She's a specialist in the States, for peds. And then there's this weird conspiracy theory that there's a hidden city underneath the airport in her town, and it's like a well-known conspiracy. Like everyone believes it in that town.
Have you heard of Pizzagate?
Is this the United Arsenal one?
Nah, nah. Oh no, no. There is that Pizzagate, but there's also the Pizzagate, the American version of Pizzagate, which is that they reckoned that there was a pedophile ring which was run in this, and I think it was, if it wasn't, what's that pizza brand called?
Papa
The
John's?
Papa
Yeah.
John's. If it wasn't Papa John's, it was some American equivalent of that. And basically, it was kind of like that, that on thing. Have you heard of QAnon?
Yeah. Are they the right wing ones or the left wing ones?
I think they're right wing because they think Trump is going to somehow stop their country from being run by devil worshippers, and it's
Oh,
connected to
this came up on
pedophiles as
Alex
well.
Jones and Rogan. Did you watch? Is this the one that you watched on there?
Yeah, I think so. QAnon or Pizzagate? Which one?
Um,
Or, or
QAnon's came up on that
QAnon.
podcast.
Yeah, QAnon is yeah, that's like a big conspiracy theory. But Pizzagate was somewhat similar. Involved pedophile networks being ran from the basement of pizza places in the States. And let's say it was Papa John's Pizza. Some guy actually, there was like 2 or 3 incidents where people with guns turned up to Papa John's pizzas places, and they were like, "Let me see the kids. I'm here to help the kids. I'm here to get them out," and all of this just because of what they'd read on the internet. So the power of it is so
Crazy, yeah.
crazy, distressing, worrying, frightening, all of those things.
I mean,
People will actually believe this.
there was the really weird one. I don't know if you saw it recently. Where what's that site called where you can buy stuff online? Not the one that's kind of like eBay, but it's not eBay.
Amazon.
No. As in, like people sell their own stuff. Oh, what's it called?
I don't know.
It's the weird one that no one ever uses, but everyone knows it's there.
Don't know.
Let me Google it. But basically, there was some weird listings on this site for fridges and
Oh, Craigslist.
no, not Craig, not
Is that
Craig.
it?
But
No.
let me Google it. But the idea was, well, not the idea. The conspiracy was that there were weird listings that were equivalent of people who'd been abducted.
Oh.
And they thought that essentially that, and it was weird because these things like these wardrobes or lockers were costing in the region of 10 to 20 grand.
Okay.
So and then it was like the name like turned around of these particular kids who'd been kidnapped. So the people were saying, oh, it's like a ring and it's like run by this big company, but this is the way they're getting around
Oh,
it.
right.
Crap, what are they called?
Gumtree.
Um,
Oh wow, we've still actually got some fans who are still listening to
Wayfair,
this.
Wayfair.
Shopify.
It's Wayfair. That was the one.
Wayfair.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ishida. I had no idea what that was.
Oh,
I honestly didn't
it was
know.
nuts. There was a Twitter thread on it, and you could see the actual listings, and it was like equivalent to the person who'd been, or these little kids who'd been abducted and stuff. It was unbelievable. I don't even know if it's true or like made up or whatever, but again, it's one of those that's just like, yeah.
So, Jabir, this girl Ishida, if you didn't think that being a walking encyclopedia was possible, I'm telling you it is, and her name is Ishida Rana Singh. Okay, you know when you watch The Chase,
Right.
all right, you know the Beast, you know the way he knows everything.
Is that her?
This girl is on that level. She's on that level,
So,
honestly. And I wouldn't have believed it with my own 2 eyes until I saw it by myself. But hand on my heart, it's really impressive. It
Ishita,
is.
you're gonna
She
have
knows a
to
lot
be in
about
the
quiz
comments
stuff.
on every single video because we talk very blasé about a lot of things we don't really know about. So it would be very helpful.
We don't actually have. Yeah, we could do with some facts a lot of the time. So that would be helpful, Ishida.
That one came from QAnon.
We're short on facts, and you've got lots of facts, so this can work. You can complement us really well. Actually, if you want someone to go on your podcast next,
oh yeah,
you should have this girl on your podcast.
Let's set it up. I do 4 a week, so that's
Ishida, you hear that? You want to be famous? Now's your chance.
with all 10 people will watch.
Now's your chance. Thank you to the people who stuck it out this long.
Yeah, I think we'll start wrapping up, mate. It's getting to 3 hours.
Yeah, bro, it's 11. I can feel myself flagging a little bit, but this has been fun. Thank you so much to all the people who have stuck it out this long. Thank you. It's incredible. First ever Q&A for me have been so much fun.
It's been great. The very final question I've got to ask you is what's the question that I should have asked you but I didn't know enough to ask? And then answer
that's a really good question. That's a really good question. Goodness. We
finally stumped you.
Yeah. Let me see. God, I think we've covered everything about me tonight, you know.
All right.
3 hours. There's not much to me. There's not much to me. Trading and dentistry, and that's it. I would say. Oh, here's good. Oh, that's actually something interesting. What did you find most different about living in Ireland and then coming to England? And was it different or unique in any way? That were those two places different from each other? And I would say, I think it would surprise a lot of people to understand just how much of a culture gap there is between Northern Ireland and England, and how different the people are. And when I came over here at the very start, honestly, there was maybe about no one could understand me. My accent was so thick, and I thought I spoke really clearly. When I actually spoke relatively clearly compared to some of my friends who still live over there. So if I struggled, God knows how they would get along. But it's actually, it was like a complete, it just made me realize that there's actually a huge culture gap between the two places. And when I go back home now, my granny says I talk dead posh and I talk like the Queen, apparently. So it's all relative, you know what I mean? And I actually have to say it probably took me about 2 or 3 years just to get my head around English people and their culture and their sense of humor. It was something I really had to adapt to. But I'm a much better person for it, and I'm definitely glad that I made the step. And I think what the interesting point out of that is just how different it is, and a lot of people wouldn't suspect it.
Yeah, I think that's true. For kind of moving from any country to a different country, even from probably Scotland to England or Wales to England, you'd probably find a very different, different kind of style.
Perhaps so.
Of life.
Definitely, I definitely find it, and I just think that it surprises most people that I've ever really brought it up with. Just as to how different I find it and relative to how close they are. And I actually think that there's probably more in common between British people and Americans than what there is between Irish and British people, from the point of view of just their culture,
values,
I suppose,
and things like
that. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, values is maybe a good one. Sense of humor I find really different. I really find it so strange at the start, but yeah. It's a weird one,
good answer.
It took me a while, but we got there.
Mate, thank you for coming on. This has been an absolute pleasure. Guys, it's Dr. J. Martin Dentist on Instagram. We've also got the Facebook link, which is down in the bio, to head over to the financial advice for dentists. Or what?
Dentists Who Invest, community group for dentists who enjoy trading.
I've said it differently every single time.
If anybody fancies it.
It's linked.
It took me a lot longer than I should to remember that, but it rolls off the tongue now. You can perhaps tell because I've just spent too many hours staring at it. But if anybody's interested, you know where it is.
So it's down there. It's honestly, I don't go on Facebook very much, but since I've joined the group, I'm on Facebook much more often than I was previously. So I'll give you a little shout out to that.
That's nice to hear. That's nice
to
hear.
Honestly, don't go on Facebook other than that now, and maybe a couple of other to post on my groups. Other than that, I'm pretty Facebook averse. So yeah, you've definitely changed a little bit of what I'm doing. So for sure, amazing to have you on.
Brilliant. That's good. Brilliant. Thank you so much for having me, mate. It's been absolutely smashing. I've had such a good time, and I'm sure we'll see each other again at some point. If you're ever in Leeds, that offer for that coffee still stands.
I'm not far off, so I'll be down.
Or food.
So yeah, guys, that's James Martin for us. Little kind of shout out for my little bits I need to plug as well. If you enjoy what I'm doing and would like to help me take it full time, head over to the Patreon group down below. Check out a couple of bits and pieces there. There are things that are perks which I give the guys who sign up with me, things like one-on-one tuition on Instagram. I've now got about 45,000 in total followers on Instagram across the two accounts, so I do know what I'm talking about, and I've got a couple of people who are seeing some results. So if you want something to help you out and also have to help me out, then that's a great way of doing it. There's also a couple of other guys, other levels of membership as well, so that would be great. If not, then make sure to subscribe, to like the videos and share as well, because there's plenty of guys out there who can benefit from the amazing information James has given us. So that's the other way you can help out, guys. Other than that, this has been Friday Night Live. We go live 8 p.m. every week on Friday, plus a few other live streams during the week, which are less regular and more down to when people can make it. So yeah, been a great one, mate. And I'm
smashing. Thank you so much.
Coming on. Awesome.
Hope everyone has a good evening. See you all soon. Bye bye.
And